Oliver, how are we doing back there? How are you feeling? Okay,
Great.
we're all fine-tuned and ready.
Nice.
So, first, let's take our
Deep
breath.
breath.
Yeah, so deep breath in.
Let's do one more.
Okay, ready? So, welcome to the Unscripted room.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for having us.
As our guest today, I'm extremely excited to be having this conversation with the two of you because I have had the unique privilege of having offices above two of the three major adventures that you have in your life.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years I spent, but a fair amount of time every single day coming down from my office where I was working creatively alone in that space and coming down to get this moment of community and feeling like I could observe other people's behaviors and get out of my head. And so I would come down to the bakehouse every single day from my office, and I would get that opportunity to be able to observe your employees, to be able to observe what was happening. And in that time, I began to admire the two of you. I didn't know exactly who you were in the beginning. I started to figure it out, but I really loved the way that your staff treated me. I really loved the atmosphere that was happening at the bakehouse. And as I started to have small conversations with the two of you, I started to admire who the two of you were and what it was taking for you to be able to do that. Then, ironically, I move offices, and I happened to move my office directly above your second business, which is the juice house. And now I'm addicted to every single morning getting a smoothie or getting a bowl or starting my day with your product. But the theme of our episode today is all at once. Because what I have actually learned that is really the most interesting thing about the two of you, and the thing that I'm most excited to be able to talk through, and also to allow other people to hear and experience through your voice and your experiences, is what it's like to be starting businesses, starting a family. And I'm not making any assumptions about how long you two have been together because I don't know. We'll figure that out. But also maintaining, building a relationship along with that. Anybody who's out there who's never taken on any of those things individually, they're challenging as a standalone. But when you do all three at once, when you do everything at once, I'm very curious as to what you're finding to be the challenges and the opportunity, the advantages, and that's where we're going to focus.
Okay.
So the way the format of this is going to be, we have 9 questions. We talked about this before. And we'll use these 9 questions as our fuel to keep our conversation going. If we don't get to all 9 questions, that's not a problem. We're just going to use them to ignite something for us. But we will always end with our 9th question, no matter what, because it anchors the goal of this podcast, which is to make a case for curiosity, try to bring people back to the understanding that there's so much joy that we can get from each other if we just try to figure out how to put being right aside and really focus on how can we share honestly from our lived experiences and be able to recognize how much value is in somebody else's perspective.
Awesome.
So
That's
Kate,
amazing.
Theo, couldn't be happier to have you here.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you being here. Let's get started with
Okay.
Kate reading our
Let's do
first
it.
question. So if
Okay.
you pull that one, yep.
It's a very nice introduction. Thank you.
We're very excited to be here.
Pleasure to have both of you.
All right.
Okay.
What helps people stay connected to a sense of self when they're building multiple parts of their life at the same time? I'm going to read it again. What helps people stay connected to a sense of self when they're building multiple parts of their life at the same time?
So just a little bit of context.
Yeah.
The first couple questions, we always focus on trying to answer it from the perspective of the human behavior.
Yeah.
So that we get ourselves a little bit warmed up to kind of figuring out what our own personal perspective is.
Yeah.
But just in general, you two are experiencing this at an extremely high level. What is it like when you've got a lot going on in your life? How do you hold on to your sense of self?
It's a really good question. I think right off the bat, like the first thing that comes to my mind is like your own practices that you have worked for you, right? And like always coming back to those. But I always go through phases of things. So
what are the practices that do work for you?
the first one is yoga.
Okay.
The first one's yoga, and the second one is journaling.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask what kind of yoga you do?
I do all kinds of yoga, not hot yoga,
Okay.
not like Bikram, not hot yoga, but like
I just started doing Bikram yoga like 6 months ago.
Really?
So yeah.
I have lots of thoughts about that.
Okay.
We can talk
Yeah,
about it later.
no. That's we can get into any of it.
Yeah, yoga's been a huge part of my life for
Okay.
a long time. For not necessarily the traditional reasons that people get into yoga, like not for a workout, right? I started it pretty much to manage anxiety, actually, and sort of try to like find a way to relax and like move, but not like be intense.
Yeah.
Like you guys were just talking earlier when we walked in about hot and cold therapy and like
Yeah.
the intensity of it.
Yeah.
Yoga to me is the opposite of that, where it creates like a soft space. But sometimes I get so busy with all these different cylinders we're firing that I don't have time to go to a yoga class, or I don't have time to do these things. And, whenever we hit like a breaking point, or, not a breaking point, but just like we're too busy, we can't step back. Like I always say, I got to go to yoga class.
Yeah.
I'm going to yoga class. Like that's where I can like find my center. And it's not even really doing anything other than just taking a beat and going to a studio that I feel really comfortable in.
Yes.
And like, people aren't judging me, like no one's looking at me in yoga class being like, is she doing her chaturanga correctly? Like I'm just doing my own thing and no one's judging me for like one whole hour where normally people are judging everything we do all day long.
The thing, so have you done a lot of yoga, or is that?
I have. That's she's tried desperately.
Yeah.
I know it's something that my body desperately needs. Being this tall and constantly having been in hospitality, being on my feet, but also being this tall and scrunched over most of the time because counter height and everything, just I'm constantly bent over. So it's something I do other things. I haven't like.
He likes hot and cold therapy.
I
like
love
sauna and cold plunge.
Sauna and cold
Yeah.
plunge, but I love being able to go to the gym. For me, and what I'm trying to work on now is like that hour and a half is where I can just tune everything out.
Yeah.
Have something very, very specific that I'm working on, but that I don't have to think about.
Right.
And then that lets my mind wander. And there were times when I'd be at the gym and I'd call Kate up because I just have a moment of like, we've been having a problem or something's not working in the flow of the big hat. And I'm like, I call and I'm like, I just am able to talk it out and be like, I've had this idea. What do you think? It just allows me to get out of my head.
And the commonality between these things is one, we're moving our bodies physically, but two, we're alone, which we're often not alone in our days.
Yeah.
We're with a toddler, or we're with people that we work with, or we're just together, or we're with family. And so like, I think it comes to like back to having alone time.
Yeah.
Which is like a really interesting concept.
And it's weird that, like obviously we can only speak for the time that we have experienced, right? But it seems like this is a generation where we've maybe lost touch with sacred space. So I happen to grow up in a household where my parents were not religious. So I never understood what it was to have the sacred space of being able to be a part of a religious community, which as an adult, I've now understood how to value differently than I would have when I was younger.
I agree.
But it has left a void in my life in many times of figuring out like, okay, where do you find a sacred space outside of that? And I think for a lot of people right now, it is some level of the gym.
Yeah.
Some level of like moving and physical.
The thing about yoga that's been so interesting, and I'm not trying to make a case for yoga or anything, but
I've stopped pushing it on him.
She's made every case.
So you're taller than I am, I think, right? I'm 6 feet tall. I think
6'3".
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody knows how handsome and tall you are,
Yes.
in case they can only seeing you in the seat right now. But the yoga is really interesting because everybody is doing the same poses at the same time,
Yeah.
and yet nobody is doing them exactly the same way, and yet everybody is at their own personal max, which to me is, I have been really, I mean, I'm obsessed with my craft, which is facilitation and teaching. And so I'm always really interested in what is the best way for people to be able to learn as a community. And that's a very interesting way to do it. Yoga might not be for everybody, but I do love the way that they're like, okay, we're all going to,
Try to.
yeah, we're
do
going to
this.
understand that this is the ideal technique. And only when you reach mastery are you ever going to be able to get to the point where you can get close to max technique. But in the meantime, let me give you 1,000 variations of what you could do to do your best, and your best is all you need to bring today.
Yeah, there's no rules. I mean, there are of
pretty
course
cool.
safety alignments, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to hurt yourself by doing bad things. So I think teachers are important because they keep all the students safe through all the variations, right? But like, there's no rules.
Yeah.
I still find it hard though to, even though there are no rules,
I like rules.
I guess I do. I like rules, but I also I'm not. I'm so far from being a regular yoga person that it's even daunting to me walking into that room.
Yeah.
I know that nobody's judging me,
Yeah.
but I constantly.
It's hard to feel that way.
I always feel like people like
So maybe
in
it takes-
any moment of time.
Maybe it takes time. Like maybe I did feel that way similarly. Like when I first started, like, oh, I need to push better. I need to be better. I need
Yeah.
to show
Yeah.
the teacher I can do it. But like
Yeah.
I've been doing it for decades now. And like you really there's no substitute for like time and like learning to be comfortable with it. And now
course.
it's mine.
Well,
Even if I don't do it for months, it's still mine.
Let's be honest too. Like if you're not doing yoga all the time and you just watch people doing yoga, you're like, that is a goofy looking pose
it
that you're
is.
doing.
Yeah.
So not only do you feel uncomfortable that you don't know what you're doing, but you're also trying to do a goofy thing around. Yeah, it takes a lot to be able to go in
Yeah.
there.
The
I'm
best
actually
studios don't have mirrors, so you don't see how goofy you are.
so there was I started doing yoga because I did a solo traveling trip to Thailand
Amazing.
a couple months ago, or in October, so more than a couple months ago. And when I was on that trip, I got a chance to do a hot and cold experience with like a yoga class that went before it. And at the time, I was struggling with some back issues that I think were completely related to overstressing myself. And I just could not figure out how to get my back to where I needed it to be. And I was trying to do all these stretching every day. And then I went and took this yoga class, and every single pose that the yoga instructor put us into, I was like, this is like a better version of what I was trying to do on my bed by myself to try to loosen my back up. And I'm like, what am I doing? In my mid 40s, I am less concerned with how my body looks than how my body feels.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is an obvious transition to making sure that you're doing something that is allowing you to be able to be more comfortable in your body all the time.
Yeah.
But I started at a hot yoga studio, Meta Yoga in Salisbury. And I'm actually having the yoga instructor that's there. She's coming on to do a podcast on Thursday.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait for that.
And the theme of her podcast is mastery, because I've spent my entire career getting to know coaches, and she might be the best coach I've ever met in my life.
That's awesome.
Because she, for 90 minutes, goes into the studio and gives you her undivided and full attention, and she knows every movement that everybody's making through these series of 26 poses that you do. But the interesting thing about yoga that I found was that yoga, at least in this particular studio, and I have a very limited concept here, right? But you're looking in a mirror while you're doing it. And I have found that when I'm looking in the mirror, I can get into a groove of doing my best. But the second I start trying to look around the room and figure out how somebody else is doing, I can't keep the pose anymore. And it taught me a lot about myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
That
true.
like, I don't really need to be looking to the side.
Keep your
sh-
focus on
I think
Right.
that,
you're
What
doing.
can you do today is all that matters. It doesn't
Right.
matter what everybody else is
Right.
doing. You know what I
right.
mean?
No, I know.
Absolutely. For me, and again, it's something that I'm working on. Even just going into these things is it's a group thing. Again, I feel like I am around people all day, every day.
Yeah.
That for me, going to the gym was I put my headphones on.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
a very even though in yoga, and the really nice thing about yoga and those things is it is a community side to it.
Yeah.
Where you do. But for me, it was very much I want to step out for a second and really have that time just to myself,
Yeah.
which is hard.
Well, maybe that to the question's point, you know what I mean, is like maybe the most interesting part of any of these conversations is how uniquely intimate creating your own schedule is.
Yeah.
And understanding that when you have a child at home and you are running a business and you're doing all of that, the demand on your time is way different
Yeah.
than it is at other phases of your life, right? And I had my first son when I was 24 years old. So I felt very young when that happened, right? But I've also had the other side where now that he's about to turn 19, my younger son is in 8th grade. He turned 14. So now I see the other side of parenting where it's like that Cat Stevens song where you're like, can you just please hang out with me
Yeah,
more?
yeah,
Like, can you
yeah,
please
yeah.
come
Yeah.
back? Whereas where I know where you are in starting a family, in raising children,
1 hour of sacred time is hard to get to.
Yeah.
the intensity and like
Yeah.
eventually you're like, listen, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom
Yeah.
because that's the only place that everybody will just like. Doesn't even matter what
Yeah.
I'm doing in there, but
Yeah.
I know that no one will give me shit. I mean, that's the
Actually,
wrong.
it's not true because
Not
our daughter's
true.
trying
She
to
will
potty train
literally-
right now,
Oh,
so she wants to come to the
no.
potty.
Well, either
yeah.
she'll want to come in and join in, or she'll be standing at the door
Yelling, "Da, da,
knocking,
potty."
Right.
yelling da 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 da.
Right. but I would say that maybe the general theme of that is like, if we thought of our time as a commodity,
Yeah, which it is.
which it is, and
Yes.
arguably, I think if you think practically about it, you could make the very, very easy case that it is the
most
only
valuable.
commodity that actually matters because
Yeah.
all other commodities are dependent on that anyways.
Yep.
It's true.
So if you think about it that way and you get really fundamental with it, it's like, okay, it's just really an evaluation of what does the version of you need for your time right now. It doesn't mean that that even needs to be something that's going to be the same 2 years from now
Right. It's
or
never the same.
6 months from now.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you can figure out yourself,
Yeah.
how honestly can you adjust your routines to be able to make sure that that's
Yeah.
that that's where you're staying.
And the thing is, when you have a changing family, you have changing businesses, you're adding more to your plate, like the routine is always changing. It even changes seasonally for us. And like, because we're in such a seasonal location, like winter routines are so different than spring and summer routines, right? And so like, there is a transition just kind of always. And I think having a quote unquote routine that's not a hard, like, structure is what works for me because it needs to flex all the time, seasonally, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, depending on what phase we're going through. So like, it's like having things that like might look different instead of being like, I've never been someone who can have like, I wake up and do the same thing every day of my life for so many years, right? Like I'll go
Yeah.
through a phase or this won't work eventually and then I have to change it or I'll be like, whatever. So I think having something that you know you can come back to no matter what phase or what season you're in
Yeah.
feels like a rock. Feels like it's like how I can like stay stable, I
Yeah.
think.
It makes total sense too
Yeah.
when you think about the way that we work, which is that stability is safety.
Stability is safety. And
Right.
and how do you build that when like everything's
When
changing?
nothing is stable.
Yeah.
Right, or
At
at least
all.
emotionally,
Yeah.
you're dealing with highs and lows that are maybe at a max of what you can deal with in
Totally.
your life.
Totally, yeah.
I've got this theory, at least in my own personal life, that my life is pretty easily divided into 3 major categories. It's like, okay, my career is one category. My family is another category. And then my passions are another category. And I have a pretty high drive to try to live my best life. I think that that's the point here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to waste my time and my opportunities. And I have found that I have a really hard time being able to max out more than 2 out of the 3. And when I say max out, I just mean getting the most out of those. Not even that I've reached some, but
Yeah.
like there's 2 out of the 3 is probably pretty good. You know what I mean?
Good. Absolutely.
I find though we can't separate ours. So like when you say I like divide them into categories, I feel like
It's
everything
really
is lumped
hard.
into one for us,
Yeah.
and that sort of falls under this theme of like doing it all
All
at
at
once,
once, yeah.
right? Like our work now is our passion, not our only passion, of course. We have things we like outside of our businesses, but also like our family's there and part of it, and it's all for our family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
our next project that we're working on is like deep in family,
Yeah.
even deeper
Yeah.
than the Bakehouse Juice House and more extended. So it's like, it really feels like there's no, for better or worse, there's no division between our categories of life.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very full way to live, right? It's a gratifying, like full way to live, but it can be hard.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
When you guys get to the point where it becomes hard,
Yeah.
have you been able to figure out what's the bleed valve on that? You know, like how do you let some of the tension out? Because I've experienced everything that you guys are experiencing in the all at once.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit differently than you are, and I think that you're doing a great job
Thanks.
of handling all of these things.
There you go.
Including I've had business ventures where I've been involved with family members, and I know the complexity of that is really intense. Just for the context of anybody who's listening to the episode, I'll just try to give them an overview and then let you guys course
sure,
correct
please.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the bakehouse in downtown.
Yep.
And then my understanding is that you started the juice house as an extension, as an alternative to sort of the coffee house, that there was also a need for a juice shop in Amesbury.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. I really love what the contrast between those two. And then there's a third project that's going on right now, which is the restaurant that's being built right on the Merrimack River, where there used to be a marina that was a part of what your family has owned for a while, and you've converted that marina into a restaurant.
It's still a marina now.
Okay.
It's an updated, better looking marina, but it's still
Okay.
the same size marina
Okay.
on one side, and the other side is going to be a new restaurant, brand new restaurant. There's never been any commercial buildings there, so it's brand
Well,
new.
it's a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Larry's Marina, which was the old marina before, operating marina, but obviously it was a little rundown.
He'd been there for like 80 years.
Yeah. And so my father-in-law, Kate's father, was able to take that over and bring his passion to the Merrimack River, update the marina,
Yeah.
and then to build even more of a community space for Amesbury, where we really wanted to bring, something like that.
We're really excited about this project, but it's very different than the first two that we just talked about, whereas the Bakehouse is truly just the O&I. We work, we're husband and wife, but we're also business partners, and we're also friends, and we're also, like, there's just so many
Dimensions.
so many dimensions of our relationship, which has been amazing. It's also tested us and challenged us, and I think we've grown stronger that way. And we've always wanted to kind of do our own business. We were never like, oh, we have to be entrepreneurs, but we wanted to do our own thing. But until we were married and until we had this like relationship, we understood we have different but complementary skills. Like we could actually make this a reality if we work together.
Yeah.
He has like operation skills, I have business skills. And so like I
Yeah.
could never run it and he could never run it either without each other. So it felt like this is going to work for us.
So I'm curious, just because it's so how would you define operational and business skills? Like what do you think is what's the dimensions of what you bring into that is complementary of each other?
I have formal business training. I have an MBA. Like I got my undergrad degree in business communications, and I went back to Columbia and got my MBA. He's always worked in hospitality.
Yeah.
always. So he's got like hands-on operations experience
when-
with customers.
When it gets to a spreadsheet, I
Yeah.
don't even know what I'm looking at. I really
I
don't.
barely
It's-
do, but
Yeah.
but in terms of there are things that I'm a little bit more detail oriented. She can sort of see the much bigger picture, where I sometimes get lost in very, very sort
Yeah.
of surface level things. So to be able to complement each other on that end.
Yeah.
And then I've just lived in the industry for so long.
and he's really good with people. And when I say operations, also like logistics, like how are you going to put the food out? How are you going to get the food to be as high quality as we want it to be, but in mass production, right? Like it's all him when it comes to that. But like business has many dimensions to it. It can't just be, I call his side, which isn't always the case, I call his side of it the fun side. It's like creative and people focused and fun. And like mine could all be done from like an office in the middle of nowhere, kind of like behind the scenes on a computer,
Yeah.
right? And it feels
But
less
every
fun to me.
single thing that happens there has to get done. Otherwise, the business
No, right.
isn't
They're both
legally
important.
allowed to operate.
They're both
you know?
important sides. And if you're a sole owner, right, if there's just one of us, you're wearing like so many of these hats that are very different from each other. Like a creative person isn't necessarily going to thrive when they're like organizing bank accounts and administrating.
Yeah, and I
administrative
would
work.
be a really good offset to that for you guys if you're
Yeah.
wondering what that's like, because that's
Yeah.
essentially what
You're doing.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
some ways. But I think that there's a couple incredible opportunities that you just brought up, right?
Yeah.
So the majority of the training that I've done has been in the automotive industry, but it's been a really cool experience because automotive is unique in that they Jaguar Land Rover, which is where we've done the majority of our training for, they have 240 retailers in the United States and Canada. And so I've had the privilege of being able to work with pretty much all 240 of those retailers. And so what's interesting is that you see kind of like a coffee shop might like figure out that a coffee shop sells coffee, they sell these kinds of things, but it's the way that you do it that creates the atmosphere in which people either want to or not want to do business with you.
Yeah.
And when you walk into a dealership, what you can feel right away is every dealership essentially has a sales team, a service team, parts team, technicians, management,
Lots of.
GM, right? They have all of these different
Yeah.
positions. And if you walk into the door and you're like, wow, there are 6 different businesses running under this one
Yes.
roof and none of them know how to care about me.
Yeah.
That's one experience, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you could walk in and you could be like, wow, this is one business and they all know what the focus is and the focus is me.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I learned over a long period of time is what that really is it is the perfect combination of the two of you, which is that you have to try to figure out how you find balance between culture and process. And the way that you just described it, Theo, you're focused on culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kate, you're focused on process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it's like, in a perfect world, you have two people who champion these ideas, who love each other,
Yeah.
who respect each other, and that they always are willing to find the compromise between their passion and the outcome that you're trying to achieve, which
Yeah.
means that the two of you have an incredible opportunity to be business partners.
I agree that and I think we saw that too. And then of course, like the opportunities that come to you, you have to, might not be what you thought they were, right? You have to be open-minded as you see opportunities in your life. So we jumped at the bakehouse and that was like our first one, right? That was our first one. And I think we sort of got in this like really good rhythm together, of course, challenging, of course, ever changing seasonally,
Right.
right? Or when we had a baby, it changed again. Like
Sure.
I took some time to really step back after having a baby, and we hired a new GM at the bakehouse to help support Theo so he could have
Who-
some more time.
We don't have to get into names, just only to
Yeah.
protect other people.
Yeah.
But I know her, and I think she's brilliant.
She's
and
brilliant.
she seems to be. That seemed to have been a real game change move for you guys.
Definitely.
It definitely was, and it's something that we always knew, and going into this that we wanted to do. There's sort of, I guess, 2 avenues that you can really go down in business ownership. You can just be so in love with a very small passion that's all you want to do, and you're fine just doing that yourself.
Yeah.
Or you want to grow something bigger, and to be able to do that, you know that you can't do everything yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's about the team.
And it's
Yeah.
about the team, and it's about growing a team around you that are like-minded. Maybe you're not searching for the same things, but you care about similar things. You have the same way that you approach things and the respect that you give people.
Yeah.
And our GM was one of those people that I think when they first came on, after they'd come on before they
Well,
were
they worked-
GM,
they worked as barista
They
for
worked
us.
as they
Yeah.
came on and worked as a barista and worked in the store, and that was always someone. Kate and I spent a lot of our time analyzing our team.
Yeah.
Because what do we do when we're at home talking to each other? we end up
I can give
usually
you a couple more
talking-
ideas if you want to come up with other
Yeah,
things
we
you
made
want
our,
to do at
business,
home.
our
like,
New Year's resolution this
But
year was
I totally
to not,
understand where you're coming
yeah,
from.
where our
We
resolution was to
try-
not talk business
yeah,
after 6 p.m. or
Yes,
something.
we tried to kind of get to 6 p.m.
Boundaries
and be like,
are probably
okay,
good when you
Yeah.
have,
yeah. And you know what? It's very easy to do and nice when you've got good things going on in the business. It's
Sure.
really hard
Yeah.
When
to
it's
either
stress.
decide to not talk about it. That's when you have to make a really conscious, because it's hard to bring that into the house when
Yeah.
you've had a tough day. To one, be like both, okay, you know what, this is a problem that cannot be solved right now.
Yeah.
Let's just put a pin in it and attack it tomorrow with
Yeah.
a fresh mind.
Well, there's so many dimensions to that I think if you've never been through the experience, you'd have a really hard time. It can be hard to relate to the concept
Yeah.
of like, it is so intensely intoxicating to
Consuming.
be able to go home and have somebody who cares about your business as much as you do.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for the two of you, it probably feels like, oh, this is a high energy conversation that we can
Yeah,
have
yeah.
anytime we want to access it. But then eventually you're like, okay, but what about when we want low intensity space?
Yeah.
How do we keep our high intensity energy out of that? And
Yeah.
it becomes a lot more complicated to be able to get that done. So how do you set those boundaries?
How do we
We're
do
working
it?
on that
Yeah.
still, to be totally honest.
That's great.
I don't
It's
think
a
that
learning
we
curve. There's
have
no-
a perfect answer.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's different for everyone, because everyone's relationship is different and every business is different. And it's just about,
But even for us, like we have different, like I said, different seasons of life, and
Yeah.
and our boundaries have changed. Like, especially with like kids and
It might also be really generous to offer each other the acknowledgement that like maybe not every time in your life you get to have a low time.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Sometimes you
yes.
just got to burn it all night,
Yeah.
like candles going
Yeah.
all the time.
It's
and
true.
it just is what it is. And you're going to end up being amazing people on the other end of that because you practiced being excellent at a lot of things all at once. you know?
Yeah. So, and now it's getting even more complicated because then when we started the Juice House, so we felt really strong about Bakehouse, brought the jam on. When we got to Juice House, we brought in my sister, Caroline, who is part owner on Juice House with us and is amazing, doing amazing. And she's the reason we were able to do so many things right now. But that's another element of family. And now she works super close with my husband, right? And so it's like my sister and my husband are now also coworkers and
Yeah.
family members. And so we're sort of seeing this like evolution of like business kind of expanding through our family.
Yeah.
Starting with Juice House and then with the next Marina restaurant project, my dad is the owner of the property and he's
Right.
like the catalyst for all of this, which means we're now working with my dad too. So
Yeah.
like there's so many layers to this. And I think we're still navigating like how do we separate our couple relationship out
Yeah.
of that sometimes? Yeah.
Who knows whether there is an answer to this, right? It's about, I mean, this whole podcast is about that maybe the answer is curiosity.
Yeah, we certainly are curious about that. And I think staying open-minded, right? Like to seeing what works and what doesn't work.
I've also found, you and I have had this conversation a number of times because I kept hoping that this conversation would be helpful in some way. But for me, I have found trying to run a business almost identical to the experience that I found in trying to raise my kids.
Yeah.
And that I have found the relationships that I need to be able to set with myself to be able to hopefully achieve a higher degree of self-love.
Yeah.
I have found that to be exactly the same boundaries that I need to set with my family when I get
Totally.
engaged in something that's complicated.
Yeah.
So it's like taking on these massive adventures, taking on everything all at once.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get lost in the results of what it is that we're trying to build. When there's also an opportunity to get lost in the fact that what you're actually trying to build is you.
Yeah.
You're just trying to figure out, like, what is the potential of Kate and Theo
Totally.
individually.
We don't
and
know
then what if you came together and you decided that you were going to, you were going to build a life together, you were going to build whatever that is. How extraordinary can you make it if you're both all in on something? I think that that's a huge inspiration for people. I think more people need to see that being all in is part of what makes sure that you feel alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're, without a little bit of risk. I do believe that one thing that's true about life, we could examine this together to make sure that we all think it's true, but I do think that risk versus reward is real. And the more risk you choose to take, the more potential you do have for reward on the other side. I mean, I think that sounds really basic, but it's very complex when you start thinking about which risk do I want to take.
Yeah.
And risk is scary. It's easy to sit here in a room and talk about how, yes, high risk, high reward, go for it, go do it. Risk is terrifying. And there's so much room for error.
Yes.
Depends on what stage of your life you're in and what your personality type is, though. Like, for me, I feel like I took a lot of risks when I was younger. When I didn't have a toddler, didn't have another baby on the way.
And what kind of risk would you say you were taking when you were younger? Like,
I
what does that look
would
like?
change jobs. I would move cities if I wasn't happy or if I was feeling bored, or maybe not bored, it's not the right word. Often, my friends will joke and describe me as like getting bored often and just like making extreme changes. But I think that there's just like, that's how you take the risk. And you say, all right, what do I have to lose? Well, if you're young and single and don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot to lose either.
Yes.
You're just sort of like in that rebuilding phase. And so like, that was part of me leaving my job and going back to business school and just sort of like restarting. And it does wear on you. I think eventually you're like, okay, I've moved so much, I've changed so much, like I'm ready to stop doing that.
Yeah.
But that's how you start to find yourself too. And I have friends that would never have done that. It would be like terrifying to leave Boston or be terrifying to leave the city that they're in. And I could never understand that. I'd be like, but like, don't you just need a change? Don't you just need to switch it up? But like, that's just me. That's my personality. And
Right.
so I think that the relationship with the risk for me is very different than probably Theo, than probably someone else, right?
Well, I was very, very different. Very different.
We have very
Risk-
different personalities.
Right,
Yeah,
which I think
and-
is a benefit,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what you want in a partner, in
Yeah.
a partnership.
Risk was never something that I wanted to get into.
Do you know why? Do you know what made you feel risk averse? Was that something that was in your household when you were a child? Was that a nurture or a nature?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Can you break it down from the two sides? Like, if you had to describe where you think it's in your nature, where do you find risk averse in your nature?
Yeah, I think growing up in my family, I was the youngest. It was just me and my brother. Two very successful they were in investment bankers, but I don't mean that is who they are.
Yeah.
But that's their type of brain.
This is your
That-
parents? I'm
yeah,
sorry?
this-
Okay.
these
so
are my
both
parents.
of your parents are investment bankers.
And his brother.
Both of my parents
All
were
of
investment
them
bankers.
Investment
Whoa.
bankers. They're brilliant.
And then my brother, who I always felt was in his shadow and not in a bad way. He was my older brother. I looked up to him
Sure.
immensely. But he was so obviously not reincarnation. He was exactly what they were.
Right. You could
just
see
it was very
you could see
obvious
them
in
him
school.
more obviously, yes.
And so I always felt that maybe I lacked something. And so I was always I was less willing to risk because I didn't think that maybe I was capable.
Yeah. Were you ever able to identify what it was that you felt like you lacked in comparison to your brother? Because I have a very similar experience to what you're describing, Theo. And it took me a really long time to start to identify how what I thought was my weakness and my brother's strength was just me not acknowledging how to be secure about what the opposite end of that was my strength and his weakness.
100%.
It took me a long time to figure that out. I wonder if,
It took me a
you've
really
gone
long
through
time.
that same journey.
It took me
too.
a really long time.
So what was that dichotomy between what you identified as his strength and what you thought for a while was your weakness, and then how did you flip that?
I think I based too much heavily on IQ.
Yeah.
I thought that
You started to
that-
make your own rules.
Well,
You
I started to
make
yeah.
your own path.
and
there's
something that
other
my
ways.
parents did. Credit to them. Well, two things, but two very separately. Again, adding to maybe the whole risk thing was that we both went to boarding school when we were 8 years old.
Okay.
Eight.
8.
That's intense.
That's a normal thing in the UK.
It's
but
very
not
it's
here.
very normal.
Yeah.
But that opens you up to having to explore your nurture because you're not only being nurtured by your parents now.
Yeah.
At a critical age, you're now starting to get nurtured from like people who work there, the
Yeah.
kids that you're hanging out with.
Absolutely, and all of a sudden you are no longer just an individual. I mean, you're there. You can't just go to school and go home
Yeah.
and go to a safe space.
Yeah.
Not the school like.
It's different.
It's
You were a
it's
child,
different.
yeah.
You're a child, and you have to become independent.
Yeah.
You have to learn to take risks,
Yes.
because if you don't, then you just can't kind of exist there.
Which
Yeah.
is very different than my upbringing.
Yeah.
And did you feel like going to a boarding school at that young of an age helped you mature, or
It helped me.
or did you feel like it was pulling something away from you at the time that you wish that you were getting, a closeness with your parents, or
I think I wouldn't have made obviously the decision to do it at that age. Again, the differences between my brother and I, he was out the door, see you later. I'm so excited for this opportunity to go
Yeah.
and prosper in this environment.
right?
I was scared. I was scared to go have to make new connections. That was funny. Kate and I were talking about this earlier in the week. What's funny is my work now it's hospitality. It's building a community around myself. Growing up, I didn't feel like I needed
Social anything.
social anything.
You were
And
comfortable being alone.
I was
Yeah.
so comfortable being alone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
It's just
was hard. Again, as a parent, you've
Yeah.
got to understand that your kids can be so different. What works for one may not work for the other, and how do you adapt as a parent to changing? Because I feel like even in this 2 years that we've had Camille, we've learned so much and had to learn so much on our end on how to deal with her.
Yeah.
how to be
How do we reset our brain almost
Yeah.
and learn about what our next child is going to be like, and
Yeah.
how. So again, as I said, the credit to my parents, they saw the relationship between my brother and I, which has always been very close, but they then decided to separate which schools we were going to allow me to get away
To create your own
and
identity.
to create my own identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, so there's a couple things that I was thinking of as you were going through that. One is that I think it's important just to acknowledge that science is proving, not trying to prove, but it looks like it's as close to being able to come to a conclusion as possible, that the critical time for being able to build the way that we think happens from conception to around 7 years old. It's different for every child. But that's your major imprinting that you have as far as the way that you set patterns.
Okay.
And we're also finding that psychologically, as you want to go and reevaluate your sense of self as an adult, it takes a lot of work in those conception to 7 years old to try to get to the base framework of how you see identity. And then you have to start working from then out to try to figure out what's the attention to detail stuff that you didn't, that you don't catch about your sense of self.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting context to understand given what you were up against going into that school.
Yeah, no, it was, but I think the older I got, the more I realized that the things that differentiated me and my brother were not
Bad.
crutches or were not bad. They
Yeah.
were just different, and that's who I am.
Yeah.
And it definitely took me a while.
So what's the part of you that you have come to really appreciate about yourself that is this natural advantage that you got that you can see is something that your brother struggles with, and then vice versa?
That's a great question. I think it's how our mind works, and I don't want to attribute it to empathy. It's because my brother is very empathetic. It's just the way his brain works is very
Information
mathematical.
first.
Information first.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And your emotion first.
I'm emotion first.
Yeah.
Oh, he's motion first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that in a big way, and
But I think that's what makes him so successful in what he's chosen to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, I think, is what makes me so successful in what
Yes.
I'm trying to build.
yes,
Because none of these places exist without community and people who are willing to, come in and...
I do want to offer a little bit of empathy for the 8-year-old version of you, though, because I do want to say that it's very challenging if you're somebody who has I don't know if I completely believe in these terms, but let's just use them because I think that they're terms that make everybody's easy to understand. But this whole like IQ, EQ,
Yep.
right? The world traditionally has been built to be able to acknowledge people's IQ. It very much has not been built for children to be able to understand their potential of EQ, right? It's, all of the world that you're in as a child is, can you memorize? Can you repeat? Can you memorize? Can you repeat? Most people who have very high EQs, my guess is that we have an ability to be able to turn what is interesting to us into focus. I believe interest and focus is what we misinterpret as intelligence. But if you take your interest and your focus and it's in people, there's not an easy way for children to be acknowledged for the power of what that means. But as an adult, your ability to be able to focus on people is a tremendous benefit to how you can actually be successful in the world. So it's kind of this weird thing where when you're a kid, you can build a lot of confidence if you can fit into the what the adults have given you as a successful model of intelligence.
Yep.
Then you have the other side who feels like, man, where am I finding my confidence? Why is it taking me so long to figure this out? But then once you find it, you realize that what you have is actually extremely applicable to the way that the world works and what you can do with it. It's a journey, it's a long journey to be able to
It
figure that out.
is a journey, and school, for that very reason, was not easy for me.
School wasn't easy for me either.
But I think we have
I
different...
think everyone has their own, school is such a formative thing.
So how is it not easy for you? And because the way you described you and your sister, I might kind of think that you were on the IQ side of the way that you like to do things. Not that...
I don't know. I'm also different too. I would always have a hard time necessarily following the straight and narrow path that a school might lay out for you, or in the way I'm brought up, I ended up going to a private middle school, and then you have to apply college
And
to
did you
high
grow up
school.
in this area? Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you go?
I went to Brookwood in Manchester by the Sea for 7th and 8th grade, and then you have to apply to private high school, so independent high schools, which is basically applying to colleges. And I went to the Governor's Academy.
Okay.
High school, which I loved. I love Brookwood. I love Govs. And then after that, you have the real applying to colleges. And then there's so much pressure in that system. I ended up going to College of Charleston in South Carolina, which is a state school in South Carolina, which is not necessarily the typical Brookwood Govs most people go to like Ivy Leagues or like small New England private colleges, and I just felt like I have to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
That was like my reaction, even though I loved both schools, and I have some of my best friends come from high school and middle school, still to this day, like great people, great teachers, but like just like I didn't fit that model either, you know, and
Yeah.
I it stressed me out to like, it's not that I don't think I was smart enough IQ wise, I just like didn't operate the same way people did. I didn't like to put pressure on myself, and like that expectation of like you must do this to do that, and like
Yeah.
on top of all that you must play 3 sports a year, and you must do this much community service, and you must go to all these social, like there were so many rules that I didn't think were necessarily the right rules for me.
Yeah.
But I was like terrified to break the rules because I don't want to be like punished or, you know, ostracized for not following the rules. So I was kind of in like this weird way too, where I felt like I couldn't rebel, but like I wanted to in a way. And
Well, you guys are, I mean, you two have some very interesting experiences to be bringing into where we are in the world right now.
yeah,
Because I mean, I don't know this any more than anybody else does, but it feels like we're in a time of transition.
it does.
Exactly what we transition to, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm all in on trying to transition to a world that's better for everyone.
Absolutely.
Right. So I think, but the interesting thing about making that transition is that you also have to examine everything that currently exists. So if you go to some of these private schools that exist, I mean, just unbelievable education that you can get. Some of the greatest teachers that are, you know, that you can get access to. The networking
Yep.
is
Yep.
bananas.
Huge.
But the other side of that, of what they are teaching you, which I'm not sure is exactly what I want my children to learn, is they are teaching you about how to be successful in an authority model.
Yeah.
Because there are no places that rely on authority more than those private schools
Yeah.
in being able to say, our way is the way.
Yeah.
And for my sons in the future that I envision of where the world is going, which I actually think is heading towards that the most successful version of each individual person will be their authentic self. Now that's a very confusing conversation because
Yeah, it
people
is.
are rewriting what the word authentic means, and they're just creating a character over a character to try to figure out how they can fit this new narrative. But I do believe you can tell me if you're wrong. You guys see people all day,
Yeah.
every day that come into your coffee shop. I've had the privilege of training with a lot of different people. Not everybody that I ever met gave me their honest self.
Yeah.
You know the difference
Yeah, you
when
know.
somebody's
Absolutely.
being real
You know.
with you and when
Yeah.
they're not being real with you.
Definitely.
But what I can tell you as an absolute is that I have never met somebody who was being real with me that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I don't care what version of them I got to meet.
Yes.
I just, if they gave it to me for real and they showed me who they were,
Yeah.
I liked that person.
agree.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what we're all trying to get to. It's just the way that we get there is complicated because of our nurture and nature, right? There is something unique about each of us, and yet we all spent our time growing up and spending our time in different ways that has given us these different models of the way that you're supposed to operate in the world,
Yeah.
which I think in some ways, if you look at it, is propaganda to try to convince your mind to get into a pattern to be able to operate in that one way. And what we have to do is figure out whether we want to apply free thinking to the way that we want to build our own version.
Well, and also like the world that we're in, like you sort of have to play by those rules to be quote unquote successful.
It's very difficult to play outside of those rules.
It-
I'm trying to do it right now, and it's very, very difficult, but
I
I
end
don't
up-
know it's impossible. It's just difficult.
I end up losing my authentic self sometimes because you have to go back and play. You have to go play that game sometimes
Yeah.
to get further. And
Yeah.
I think that's sort of what happened to me with going to business school. Like I felt like I needed to level up.
Yeah.
And I like needed to go, I don't know, do what I'm supposed to go do, which is like get higher education and like increase my whatever and make the network and do the thing. And I got a job in consulting right after, and ultimately like that's just not a right fit for me. Like it wasn't the right fit. Like I found the recruiting intense and pressurized, and the networking was like overdone and
Intense is the right word. I mean, it's
Intense,
just
everything. So fun,
intense.
but like so intense. And I'm like, okay, like I keep having to go play this game where like I need to level up or I need to go do this, but like, you know, that's not really
Intense
Fill up
though
my
is
cup.
intense is a version of feeling presence. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like when you're doing anything intensely. I mean, think about all the things that actually feel intense. It's playing sports can feel really intense. Physical intimacy with somebody that you're in love with can feel very intense. Parenting at times can feel very intense. All of these things that come out, they do in that intensity, they make you feel alive. But the problem is that
Interesting.
it's very difficult to sustain that level of intensity because it's just one of the feelings that you should be able to go through. And when you start to identify with that feeling, you can become addicted to intensity. And that
Such an
is
interesting way
probably
to look at it. I've never heard of anyone describe intensity as being present. To me, intense is like a very negative connotation to it.
Well, I can tell you the way that it's, so I've had probably the toughest 2 years of my life. I've never gone through a series of things that happened back to back to back that were really complicated. And what I found was that because I had done a lot of work on trying to figure out who I was before I went into those
You could
challenging
survive it,
things,
yeah.
I started to be able to observe my feelings more than identify with them. And as I got to that point of just trying to sit with myself and be like, all right, what am I going through? What I realized is that it is very easy to feel present in suffering.
Yeah.
Very
That's
easy.
true.
When you're suffering, and we talked about this a little bit before we came onto the podcast, right? Like when you get the flu,
Yeah.
like I'm sure everybody can relate to having the flu where you're just like, genuinely fucking kill me right now.
Yeah, this is
I
awful.
don't, whatever this is going to be, like
Yeah.
just put me out of my misery. I don't want to be in front of this toilet. I don't want to be in front of, like, this is terrible. And then as soon as you get to the other side of that, you're like, why don't I appreciate feeling good every
Every
day?
day.
What the
I
hell?
mean, even just getting a blocked nose,
Right.
just being able
Yeah.
to breathe freely when you finally are
Yes.
like, both my nostrils are working and I can
Yes.
breathe this. Why
Yeah.
don't I think about this every day? This amazing feeling that is just being able to be alive.
So
Even the small stuff, guys, like when you don't feel good and you're like, all right, I feel terrible. I'm just going to give myself a pass and I'm going to watch Netflix all day. And then you turn on something in Netflix and you hate whatever you're watching because you feel like shit. So you're also transferring
Yeah.
that to whatever you
Yeah.
feel about whatever you're watching.
Yeah.
I don't think that we give ourselves credit to slow down and talk about that kind of stuff. That there's a couple things that that I don't know, but I'm really curious about. One is that I believe that our mindset is highly dependent on the way that we perceive other people perceiving us. And it's one of the most important things that we can break is if we can stop worrying about the way people think about us, then it frees us up to be able to really concentrate on pointing our momentum forward in whatever it is that we want to achieve without having to worry about it. But that is very difficult to do in an authority model because in
Yeah.
an authority model, there's always somebody trying to tell you that you are or are not enough.
Yeah.
And you are trying to vie for their approval at any given time. Then you apply that to what's it like when you grew up in a family where your family use an authority model to be able to parent you, and then you get into the 0 to 7. And that's where it gets very complex to figure out how did I set an authority model in the way that I'm constantly looking for somebody else to give me approval that I'm enough. When the reality is, if you can just think about it logically, that you're alive, you're drawing breath, which means that you're enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to be any more than breath in, breath out at any given time. That is enough.
Yeah.
And yet we are constantly looking for somebody else to be like, that report that you just gave me
We're
makes
in-
you enough, or it doesn't make you enough, or
Yeah.
you know.
I feel like we're in that right now with our daughter, where everything that she does, she looks to us for going down the slide. Was that good?
Yeah, she does. She does.
I just did this. Is that I'm clapping? Everyone is everyone clapping? Everyone like
you're not paying
If you're not paying
attention, yeah.
attention.
And
And
giving
seeing and acknowledging, even if it's she's really getting so
Validation.
many words down now, but it's the point of like she says a word and she wants to know it's correct.
Validation, that
she'll
they said the right
so
thing.
she'll say it over and until you say it back. She's like, "Thank you," and I'm like, "That's very good. Thank you, and I'm like, "Thank you, yes, that's good." And she's like, "Okay."
Is she gonna have a British accent? That's what I want. I want to.
That's what I want.
Theo wants
That's
it.
what
Right?
Whatever you can do, just make like contain
Absolutely.
her.
Well,
I think
make
the
sure
only
that
thing that would
you're-
work is sending her to boarding school at age 8 in the
It
UK,
would.
which we're not doing.
I tried.
Okay.
It's not happening. It's happening already. She says, water, water, and I'm like, it's water.
There's a proper way to do this.
There's a proper way to do this. No, you know what? I have made my bed and I will sleep in it. I live in America. I love it here, and my children will be.
Well,
They-
we're going to
but-
visit his family in France in May,
Yeah.
and they have kids. One daughter who's Camille's exact age, and so it'll be interesting to see.
This is your brother's daughter.
Yeah.
This is my brother's daughter. They had a
A
daughter
son
at the
and
same
a
time as we did, and then they have an older son who's
Wow.
4.
What a privilege, though, to have kids
Yeah.
that are the same age, so that when you
amazing.
do get together, that they get to raise themselves a
It's
little
going to
bit.
be amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
can't wait to see like how their accents, because they were living in the U.S. in New York when we were in New York, and
Yeah.
then they moved back to London, and so it'll be interesting to see how.
Yeah,
their
my
kids'
nephews my
accents
nephews
have changed.
already started sounding much more English.
Yeah.
Being over there. But it's funny because I remember growing up, as my mum's American, and so her family's all back here, and I have cousins in the US, and it was always so funny. We grew up with it, so it was kind of normal, but meeting other people outside who were like, when we were on family vacations and stuff, and they're like, how are you guys
Are you
related?
related? Yeah.
Because we were so English. My
Yeah.
brother is even more English than I am.
he lives there.
Because he lives there now, I certainly have lost a little bit of my just general Britishness, just because I'm here and I assimilate.
How do you describe so? Given
Vocabulary.
I've spent a lot of time in the UK because I've worked with Jaguar Land Rover so long, and they're. But how? Yeah. What is British? Like, what does that feel like? to-
Mostly vocabulary. I again even equate it something so funny as just like the way that I dress is just but that is just location anyway. If you are down in Texas, even in the US, if you move from here down to Texas, if you want to
You dressed
assimilate, you dress differently.
Yeah, but
you know?
I think you might be being a little bit humble too, because if I had to say like what I think is amazing about British culture, you hit two of them on the head. One is that you can read a phone book and we're all listening. We like it.
Yep.
Whatever you're doing, it's very, very charming and we love it. The second thing is that you do have a sense of style that is coming from that part of the world. And I've not only seen this in the way that you dress, but I've also seen, Jaguar Land Rovers are pretty phenomenal vehicles.
Absolutely.
But I would say the thing that makes them so unique is that they have an X factor to them that when you get in, the Brits just know how to put materials together. They
Sure.
know how to...
It feels very
Yeah, it'd be like going to a posh hotel and knowing
Yeah.
that when you're sitting in their lobby that you don't want to be sitting anywhere else. They also know how to do that with their cars.
Yeah, that's like his family to a T.
Yeah, they don't always...
Like imagine that.
It
when you
is.
just
It
said,
is so
"That's a
funny the
sim."
difference between going to one family holiday compared to the other.
Yeah.
and
Very
they're
different.
different on multiple things. Of we have a small. It's just my brother and I,
Yeah.
my two parents,
Small
and then
property.
Kate comes from a much larger family.
So what is a conversation if let's say we go to a holiday at your house? What's the conversation like? And then I want to know exactly what the conversation is like at your house.
So this, and again, this kind of ties into what I felt growing up in this family, which in nothing negative in what I'm saying. It's just, again, these are the internal thoughts that go that's so hard as either being a parent or a child. Is I felt like I brought nothing to the dinner table.
No.
And I know that I didn't, but these are just your own intrusive thoughts that
Yeah, no,
always
no,
happen.
this is-
That's
yeah, I really
there's
appreciate-
nobody was putting that on
No,
me.
I appreciate
These are
that.
just
Anytime we can share our insecurities about what we were feeling at any given time, I think that opens up other people
Yeah.
to be able to be like, yeah, I also felt that when I went to
no.
dinner.
I mean, not that it was, and we've just watched it, but it was the Kennedy story, the JFK Jr. love story that went on Netflix. The moment of them where they go to Cape Cod and sit at the house and almost they're talking politics, and you've got the matriarch who's sort of quizzing, and so not close. We're not close to that,
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
but it was very much.
There was a language being spoken.
There was a language being spoken that I
Yeah.
didn't have the vocabulary
Yes.
for. Whatever was going on in the world. My brother to this day consumes material like nobody else, but it is Napoleon's biography, it's this, it's that,
Yeah.
it's he consumes knowledge just like my parents do. I felt I was like, I watched a fun movie today.
Yeah.
It's great. So
There's also so many benefits of being a part of a family like that.
oh, absolutely, and
Like-
and I certainly don't. And it's not nothing negative or positive. That's what made me, and
Yeah.
I love it. And again, not only the conversation, but like,
Yeah.
what are you wearing?
Okay, well, when
It-
I go to his family holiday, we talk about travel, like education, yes, current events,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't feel like
It's
as
not
intense as he's saying, but he has a childhood. To
and
bring
and
it
and
through,
yes,
but-
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's
I
maybe
think
what I
it's-
didn't hit on.
Well,
it's a lot more. We've been so fortunate to have explored a lot of this world.
It's
Yeah.
amazing, yeah.
That comes with a lot of experiences, and so we talk a lot
Yeah.
about that. But then at Thanksgiving or jackets, I mean, it's a very
Formal dress.
formal affair.
Yes. Which raises the stakes intentionally.
Yes.
That's the whole
And
idea
I-
of why as a culture you try to be sophisticated so that you take yourself seriously, because
Absolutely.
it does culturally give you a sense of feeling important, which is the same thing that I think that you could get if you were going to church.
Yeah.
And you felt like you were, that you were the son or daughter of God, that you would also take yourself quite seriously if
Yeah.
you felt like you were under that. So culturally, you can see that there's all these different
Absolutely.
versions of the way that we're able to build that. Very, very interesting how that all plays itself out. And I would say, just for the sake of, like this podcast, our conversation, the whole point of what I think we're trying to do at this table and what we're trying to do from here on out is figure out if we can touch truth. You know what I mean? And the interesting thing about truth is that it's not obvious what is true and what's not true, because each of us are perceiving something different in the same moment.
We've all got our own truth.
And your
yeah.
perspective is 100% your truth,
Yeah.
but it is definitely not the truth.
truth.
Totally,
And so it's like
yes.
trying to figure out in any given moment, like, where do we all touch truth at
Yeah.
once? So like when you go to his family events,
It's so different for me to see it versus his,
Exactly,
and vice versa
exactly.
too.
exactly.
Yes.
So when we go to your family event, walk us through what
So
a
for
holiday
example,
at your
this
house is
past
going to
week
be.
we went to a family event and everyone, it was like a birthday party for my mom, and all the siblings, I'm one of four, I'm the oldest of four, we were texting with our...
It's a lot of responsibility
Yes,
right there.
I know. And
Yeah.
we all have
All
husbands.
sisters or-
No, one brother and three girls.
Okay.
And everyone's like, what are you guys wearing to this event, right? That was the thing. And we're all like, yeah, we want to look nice. It's in Boston. And I said, I think Theo's wearing a blazer. And my brother's
course he
like,
is.
well, because he's British, he has to. I'm not wearing a blazer. Like, oh, that's not necessary. And that's just like the very
Way to set the tone,
different. No, totally. And like, I love that that's your tone. Like, I love that about him. And I feel like what we have to do in our own little family unit that we're building now is sort of find that fine line between like having that elevated, stereotypical British culture vibe versus like bringing in my other culture from my family, which is like,
But I
American.
love going to the again.
100%. So-
I feel very fortunate that both of us, how different our families are, we appreciate the differences so much with our families, and I think that's what makes us such a
yeah.
strong, cohesive.
Am I reading
unit.
between the lines correctly that your family has a little bit more of a casual social
We're
scene when
super-
you get in there, and
We're
it's a
very casual.
and if your family was anything like my larger family when I was growing up, so I grew up in West Newbury, which is right
Yeah.
down the road. So
Merrimack for us.
I get the culture of what it is to live in this area.
Yeah.
But if I had a family reunion, my mom was one of 9.
Yeah.
And if that family was all together, the culture that I experienced was like, who was going to talk louder than the other
Chaos.
person to get
Yeah.
attention?
It's
Yeah.
chaos.
And it was in some ways very difficult to find your way through, but in other ways you realize like, man, if I can make it here,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, because that's
Yeah.
not an easy environment to be able to be seen in. So if I can get seen here, it
Yeah.
could kind of work for me anywhere.
It's definitely like everyone has something going on, and I think we're very lucky. So the 4 siblings of us, like we're very close. Of course we fight. Of course we have our sibling tensions and whatever growing up, but we're very close.
Yeah.
And we all support each other so much. And like what I do love about our family is that we all take each other's significant others kind of like in as family. So like Theo is now their brother too.
Yeah.
And I feel that, and I'm so appreciative of that. It's just, I think our family is so fun. We do very fun things with my family. And I think that starts with like my parents and the opportunities that they've afforded us and the experience that they've given us. And then, I'm very grateful for all that. But like everything just is more casual. It's more fun. It's louder. It's chaotic. It's sometimes going to be more stressful.
Yeah.
We had a different upbringing. We were fortunate. Like I went to private school against my dad's better. Like he didn't want me to go to private school. But
I think I met your dad once at the coffee house, so I have a reference.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
He's wild. He's amazing. He's wild. He's a very brilliant businessman who also didn't follow any stereotypical rules or straight and narrow path. So I think we both learned from him. And so I think what's great is that Theo now has I think what's great for both of us is we have another family now to learn from. So he's now like learning with my dad how to build this restaurant and from a different perspective that's different than the way his dad runs his business in France. So it's like, it is so nice to be able to have these differences. And I think we both appreciate the pros and the cons. Like I have a lot of family traumas too, where I feel like back in the day, like I didn't have this or get this because I had to do all of these things and be the oldest one and set all the rules and and you were the youngest one and you just got the baby treatment, right? And
I think again, life gives you what you need to grow and to learn and to change your perspective. And we touched on this a few days ago. Again, it's like, I'm the baby of the family. Yeah, I know that my brother, like my experience and my brother's experience were very, very different. Yeah. And I know that he faced his own challenges, despite the fact of I thought it was very easy for him to be so smart. And so he had his own challenges of just being the older sibling. What he had to fight for my parents to just be able to do or set the tone, he probably looked at me and been like, he gets everything handed to him because there's already either a precedent set or maybe, because
that's just dynamic of siblings.
It's just
Parents
the dynamic
don't know what they're
of
doing
siblings.
with their first child. So the first child has to like work through all of that stuff.
Yep.
And
but so to be able to marry an
older
daughter, I now get that perspective maybe a little bit when I see her have to fight tooth and nail for something.
And then it gets given.
And
these aren't materialistic things that we're talking about. It could be I can't think of a good example at the moment, but I'm not talking about like getting a thing.
Yeah, it's not like, well, you got a car, I get a car.
It's more about like treatment or conceptually,
My experience is that I've been married to two women who were the oldest in their family.
Yeah, it's a special
And my experience in being able to observe both of them very closely is that, and my brother, is that all older siblings have a burden that they have to carry for being the oldest one. And it's a burden that their younger siblings don't understand because most of the time they were being raised by parents who had no idea what they were doing. Yeah. I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean that in a completely true way for any of us who have had kids. The first time that you have kids, you're like,
what you're doing.
Oh shit, this is all on me now? I'm supposed to know what to do.
I guess I could have done that one.
Exactly.
And by the second one, hopefully, to have a second.
If we can imagine our parents as the younger version of themselves that were also terrified to be able to go through this experience, and most of them were younger than, they were having kids at a younger age. So there's a component there too. But I think that whatever hardening comes with being the oldest one, there also comes with this general feeling about your younger siblings where you're always like, oh, that's cute that you're trying to have a life. Yeah. Like, that's adorable that you're trying to build a career and doing all of those things. Like, I'll tell you how to really do it when you want to, but it is adorable that you're giving it a try. Yeah. And all younger brothers and sisters, I think, are like, I'm a real person.
Yeah. I'm a real boy.
I'm a real boy. See me. And so there's that battle that you've got to figure out. And
100%.
I would just, my brother's coming onto a podcast next week. And I have a very similar experience with my brother, the way that you sound like you do with yours. Him and I have had some of the coolest experiences I've had my whole life. I've shared with my brother ski trips, and both of us, we raced cars together when we were in our early 20s. We went on tons of adventures. But we are completely different people. Yeah. He's brilliant in his ability to be able to hold information. And I don't hold on to information
Yeah.
very well, but that leaves me a lot of room to be able to read a room when I walk into it,
Yes.
because I'm not filtering a ton of information. I am right there with you in that room, and I'm seeing everything that's going on. And I'm guessing that's probably something that you can relate to.
Absolutely. No, and to that point again, my brother and I are very, very close. We've had the great fortune to be able to have access to great adventures and opportunities, but we've done so together in great family trips and everything. And it's so different. Yet we come from the same gene pool. We are so similar in so many ways. And this is such a weird thing about human beings in general, and finding someone you want to spend the rest of your life with and choosing to have kids with them. It's you're putting a mirror up, and what's so fun about parenting is when you see all those amazing traits in your children that complement them.
Yes.
And what's very hard
Yeah.
about parenting is looking in that mirror when they're maybe having that moment where you're like, where the hell did this come?
Yeah.
This is my child. Like it's from us.
What an amazing...
It's from us, and it's so hard to have that mirror and to see maybe those things that you push to the back of your mind and try not to think about.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to not see when it's in developing in someone else, You
know what I wish somebody had told me before I had kids, and I try to, I'm most of my friends that I grew up with are having kids much later than I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to kind of watch them go through this experience. And anytime I'm with them, I'm like, first of all, let me be very clear. Take parenting advice from the fewest people that you possibly can, because these people don't know your kids, and you're on your own journey, right?
Yeah.
That's all there is. But the one thing that seems to have, two things. One, I try to remind them that what very rarely gets talked about in having kids is that for you as an individual, not talking about the relationship you have with your kids, but for you as an individual, the thing that kids can do very quickly is that they will break you of your narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So whatever privileged experience you came into parenting with, as far as feeling like I can do anything I want with my time and I can go anywhere and I can do anything, that notion is broken almost immediately.
Yeah.
And you now realize that your life isn't what it used to be. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we could talk about this in a bunch of different ways, but I think what actually happens for every parent, and we don't acknowledge it, is that it is a death of one identity. Mm-hmm. And you have to allow the rebirth of a new identity to come into terms. But if you're not thinking about it that way, you can feel like it's the beginning of feeling depressed, or it's the beginning of feeling something you don't understand. And what's really happening is that you're letting go of your youth.
Yeah.
I think
And
you
you're
nailed it.
adopting your adulthood, and that's a very difficult transition to make happen.
It sounds so negative to say like you're mourning your youth or your independence, right? But it is that.
It is that.
In the best way, but it is that. And I don't think we were ready for that. No. Or at least I wasn't. I thought, I'm still going to go to my friend's wedding in Cabo. I'm still going to go here. I'm still going to go there. Like, I'll just do whatever I want still. And my baby will just come with me. And it's like, life gets flipped upside down. And that took me some time to just like really be like, oh my gosh, like how do we find, okay, this gets back to our first question that we started, who knows how long ago, but how do you find that sense of self, like who I was at my core in my youth and still have, right? Like, and I still think it's finding time to carve out alone, which is literally the first thing we just talked about today, is like somehow finding that hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can find it looking at your kids, though.
Yes.
Because one of the things that's really interesting about kids is that, one, they did come from the two of you, right? So that you all of those mirrors, you get to see some of the nurture that you can learn to re-love about yourself.
Yeah.
Or actually, reframe that. The nature is very easy to see that comes from the two of you. And then you can look at the nurture of what you're building and be able to be like, okay,
how could we change, or how could we adapt?
So stress test this for me, right? Because this is something that one of the things that I really want to do is try to figure out how many things that we can establish that are actually true.
Okay.
And to me, parenting is one of the in my opinion, if I did nothing with the rest of my life other than talk to people about parenting, I'd be happy, because I think that it's the most important thing I've ever done. And if what we're really trying to do is figure out how to create a better world, it has to happen through parenting, right?
I agree.
I mean, like, you can't.
Well, because that's the only lens you can put on, where it's not, this is just about my experience, and at some point I'm not going to be here anymore. So it's
Becomes
not
bigger than you.
It becomes
Yeah.
bigger than you, and I think that just, again, becoming a parent, not everybody should or need to want to become a parent. Becoming a parent is, it is the death of your independent self. And so when I talk to people who are like, even our younger siblings,
My youngest sister.
your sister or even your brother, who see us in the moment and see maybe when Camille's deciding to be that 5% of the day really, really, really cute. He's like, I want, like, oh my God, I want that. Like,
And you're like 95% of the time.
Yeah,
come
it's
on.
95,
always-
and
yeah.
I knew I always wanted this. I do think that whatever we're building, I'm going to be so proud of it, and I want to do it. But I want to do it so that I can be a parent, so that I can be. I don't want to work forever.
Yeah.
I want to go to my kids' games, and I
Yes.
want to be that. I want to, because I think that's what I'm going to be the best at.
Oh my
I
gosh,
do.
I can see he's getting emotional.
I always get emotional.
I think that
when
what
I'm-
you're saying is beautiful, Theo. I think that I wish that more people, but I especially wish more men would be able to express what you're expressing right now. So let me make a statement to the two of you, and you tell me if you think that this is true, but I think based on our conversation, you will. Parenting is very complex because your child is uniquely your child, and there's no way for somebody else to be able to tell you with authority what you should do for your kid, because they don't know your kid.
Yes.
They just don't, right?
No.
But if there was a piece of advice that we could all give to each other about what our collective experience is in parenting, that maybe the best way that we become parents is that we learn how to become the best version of ourselves, and then we wait for the opportune moment to be able to teach our kids how we did it.
Yeah.
You know, so if we're trying to figure out how to be the best version of ourselves in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, in our 60s, we have to be patient to wait until our children are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. And remember, we're still leading. We're still making sure that we're able to sit down with them and be like, yep,
That's
I
true.
also ran into that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I know exactly what you should do in this moment, but I can tell you that after observation, I either believe that I made a left turn when I should have gone right, and I can tell you why, or that I made a right turn, and I'm so grateful that I made that right turn, and I'm so grateful that that's where that ended up. But other than that, you know, I think we equate so much of our lives, including business, to like, how good am I at? And really, it's like, how good can I be today?
Yeah.
You know, can I just be a little bit better today than I was yesterday? Because going from where I was yesterday to being, you know, at some pinnacle mountaintop that I think that I want to achieve, that's not going to happen. But what could happen is today I could wake up and I could just be, you know, I could be incrementally a little bit better than I
You can
was
learn.
yesterday.
That's what we try to do. Is like the same things do happen repeatedly in different ways, right? And so we say, okay, well, last time something like this happened, this is what we did. Did that work out for us? Okay, maybe we could have done this a little bit better. We could have maybe gone slower or taken more time to find the right solution instead of just panic and do something. So like, I don't know if it's better or like good, more good, but we tried to evolve, you know, and learn from it.
Yeah, and there's no day.
We're still new.
Yeah,
though.
we're still new.
I still think of ourselves as very young. We're mid-30s.
Well, of course you are.
And so I
You
She
think
says she's young.
he's 2 years older than me, so
I
he's
constantly
getting,
remind her
You're
how
ancient.
old I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
I can't believe there's no gray in your beard
he
yet.
has gray.
I
He
mean,
does.
two,
You're
Just
far
for men.
away.
Just
2
No, no.
years older. My God,
No,
that's
he
really.
definitely has some grays from the. But this thing, we're still new in business too, and like we're new in learning. So I think if we have the same conversation again in 5 years, and then again in 10 years, like we'll be coming at you with a whole new perspective. And
Well, just getting to know you guys, I would say that if we sat down in a month, it would be a different
Things would be
perspective.
different.
In
Things would
2
be
months,
different.
it would be a different
Absolutely.
perspective, right? And
that's true.
I think that people don't slow down and appreciate what a wonderful life that is when you are not embedded in thinking that you know everything that you need to know, which essentially is the desire to be righteous. But the problem that nobody wants to examine about righteousness, and this is precisely why I think curiosity needs to make a huge movement right now, is because what people don't want to acknowledge is that to be right, you have to find someone to be wrong.
Yeah.
Otherwise, righteousness can't exist.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? So it naturally, authority pits people against each other because
Why do we all love to be right?
Okay, so if you don't mind, I would love to explore this with the two of you because
Yeah.
I find it to be a very interesting topic. My first guess would be that it's deeply, deeply ingrained into our nurture. That immediately when we're born, just based on my experience of what I've gone through with my own kids and also the love and appreciation I have for my parents, there's something biologically unbelievably powerful about the feelings that you have between parent and child. And we were all taught to parent with authority.
Yeah.
You know, do what I ask you to do, and if you don't do
Follow
it,
the
you go
rules,
here, right?
punishment. Yeah.
Now, on that side, I get that too. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to raise kids who don't know how to have boundaries and understand the difference between what is the appropriate thing to do in one environment and an inappropriate thing to do in another environment.
Yeah.
But I think that could come from course correction rather than this like stringent, I know everything. Because the problem that I see in that model of authority is that is also a natural path to hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Right. So kids eventually are like,
You
"Wait
don't
a
know what you're
second
talking
here.
about."
Like you
Yeah.
told me all this time that I should be doing this. And then I see you doing the opposite, which means you're full of shit,
Yeah.
which now I have to re-examine whether all
Everything.
authority is full of shit.
Everything.
Yes.
Where if you can operate with curiosity, your chance even with your kids is like, okay, I see that you're doing a behavior that I'm not stoked about. I don't like what you're doing. But I need to know why you think this behavior is something that is in your best interest. And if you can explain to me why you think this behavior is appropriate to be grabbing all of those stirring sticks out of the thing at the bakehouse and throwing them on the ground, if you could give me an explanation as to how that improves the lives of everybody around you and improves your life, then we can have that conversation. But if all you're doing it for is to be able to get attention, this is not the kind of attention that I want to give you.
Yeah.
Big difference between those two, you know what I
Big
mean?
difference.
Absolutely. Well, I think, and that goes back to just kind of, I think, where we are in a society now where curiosity has kind of been pushed to the back, which makes people then not want to be their true selves when they go out because they think that people will not be curious enough to ask, why are you thinking that way? Not, you're thinking that way, so I already have an assumption about who you are as a person and your character.
Right.
And it's insane now that everything you say or do, people are kind of listening in with a lens now of like, is that the right or wrong thing to say?
I know. And we were talking before about going to family things.
Yeah.
Like you guys probably can feel this all the time. I certainly feel it, but it's really intense when you go to a family outing now, because what ends up happening is you're spending time with, out of all the people on earth, these are the people who you theoretically know the best.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're a part of them. You're in your blood. You can feel pieces of them flowing through you and vice versa. And yet if they have a difference of opinion from you on someone that neither of you have ever met and neither of you really know, it can send you almost to the point where you don't want to have a relationship with that person anymore.
Yeah.
How fucked up is that?
It's true.
How crazy is it that we have somehow convinced ourselves that it is more appropriate to abolish a relationship with somebody who we know and love, to protect a relationship with somebody who we don't know and theoretically could be manipulating us through an image of what we see and think, not even the reality of the human that we've gotten to know.
That's how serious these opinions and sides are, right? Like it's wild.
And that's not even to say that, like, okay, so maybe somebody is right every once in a while and somebody is wrong every once in a while. Like maybe that does happen, but just as a whole,
Yeah.
is being right more important than loving the people who we know we should be in love
not.
with?
Because the people that are right are only right because they've either experienced something similar and they've just had more learning time, right? And so it's not like a smarter person is being right. It's just like, I've sort of seen this before. This is why I think this should be this way, right? Or, it's everyone's experiences create that. So it's not like a bad thing to be wrong. It's just maybe you haven't experienced the same thing. It's crazy.
The number of things, if you went back 200 years ago and you were like, tell me everything. Oh, is that our halfway mark?
Yes.
Oh my God,
Good
guys.
Lord.
That went way faster.
Should we open another
We haven't
question?
even opened.
We can open another question, but man, this has been easy flow to
Yeah.
get to this point for sure.
Yeah. It's been good.
I'll tell you what, let's
Let's do another question.
okay, so I'm gonna skip these two
Okay.
because I feel like we did a really good job of being able to kind of go through our past and talk about some stuff.
Sure.
Dig up. We had
This
some
this
family
is where
therapy.
this is where we start to get into our relationship with other people and the way that we perceive, how we build those relationships. Now, Oliver, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that this goes to Kate, correct?
You were absolutely right.
Oh, I love it when that happens. Yeah.
We all do.
So does my wife.
Right after I talk about how we don't have to be
That's-
right,
That's what
exactly.
I'm.
tell
That's
you
what I'm saying.
immediately how much
And you know
I
what?
enjoy
Just
that.
just wrap that up. Like the husband wife, like I'm always right or you're always wrong or the wife's always
Yeah.
right. Like it's funny, but like it's also different with a husband wife relationship than like in a professional
Okay, so
setting.
even before we read that, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that husband and wife right and wrong thing has to do with the sitcoms that we watched when we were
Yes.
kids, as much as it does the reality of two people who love each other being able
Yeah.
to be like, hey, listen, every once in a while,
Yeah.
I'm going to be in a mood.
Yeah.
And I
just
just
need
need
some support.
Right. I just need to be able to like be in the mood for a second.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I don't love you and that I don't want to come back to that or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like if we could learn if we could learn how to be able to observe our feelings instead of becoming our feelings all the time, that would probably give us a much better place. But all of these sitcoms that we watched when we were kids, Married with Children,
All of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't
know.
even think of a single. I mean, maybe like the Cosby Show was kind of like the beginning of
Yeah.
what they were hoping to do. That and that kind of ended up
That
being like
didn't end up
something
in-
that,
yeah,
but,
that
like all of
came
us
with
have
its
to-
own
right. It's like
issues.
it's like loving, music when you were little, and then finally finding out that artist did some stuff, and you're like, I don't know if I can like this music
It's-
anymore. What's
Yeah.
my rules? Am I
Yeah.
good or not?
Well, and again, what that opens up a whole other thing of like rules and like people are people.
Yeah.
There's no good, there's no bad.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. If they learn from their mistakes and they grow as humans, great. If they don't, you know that, and that's fine. You decide who you want in your company. But I do find it when somebody all of a sudden has been an incredible actor, an incredible musician. Like if I try and separate the art from the artist,
Yeah.
because something good can come from something bad.
What you're saying is that you still like Kanye.
That's probably what he's saying.
I was funny enough. I wasn't actually thinking
So do
Kanye.
I. Just to put that out
yeah,
there,
so-
Kanye, I still like you.
Yes.
I mean, not the crazy version of you
yeah.
that you've turned
But
into, but
made-
your older
made
albums.
amazing music.
I
your
think there's
older
levels
albums.
to that.
There's
Yeah,
levels.
levels to
There's
that.
definitely
I'm
levels
more,
to
I'm
that.
more in the other camp.
yeah.
But that's okay.
I get it. It makes it. I also understand why people need to have a hard stand and move
Yeah.
on from things.
Yeah, you have to
And
have-
then every once in a while, I hear a song and I'm like, but I'm going to listen to this
Yeah,
right
it's a
now
good
because
song.
it's.
But
yeah.
but what I'm trying to say, yes, like you shouldn't be a pushover or let people into your life. It's more like allow something good just for its face value of being good, and
Yeah.
don't attribute everything else negative onto it. Because if you do that in life, there's
It never ends.
This never ends.
Yeah.
It never
Never
ends. You
ends.
can't find
yeah.
the silver lining.
Well, it also makes the assumption that what we're trying to do is to be perfect. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how the two of you feel about that, but I'm sure that perfect is not achievable for
No,
me
it's absolutely
personally.
not.
I'm-
Right. But I
Absolutely
think
not.
that believing that I'm trying to be perfect is what prevents me from being better. So I can wake up every day and I can be better than I was yesterday. I can do that. And I have done that for a very long time. And what I have found is that you string enough of those days together and you feel pretty good about yourself by the time
Absolutely.
you're done with it.
Yeah.
But it means that you can't be looking at the top of Mount Everest. You just got to be like base camp, base camp,
One
base
step.
camp, one, next one. And this is something that I've talked to with my kids a lot, but especially my older son, who is an incredible young man. I'm very, very proud of him. And the thing that is his secret weapon is that he is persistent and resilient. And he just keeps going after things. Even if he doesn't get the news that he wants, he still sticks with it. And
That's a
he's like,
superpower.
it's a
That is.
superpower. It's really,
Yeah.
it's a really admirable superpower. But the thing that I had, that we talked about a lot as he would go through struggles, especially middle school and high school, when you get to those areas,
Yeah.
tough parenting moments
Very.
because your kids are in a social setting that is not like, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's a fabrication of what social settings are, and maybe not in the best way for what they're going through, and they're going through puberty all at once, and it's like, whoa, there's a lot there. But the thing that I kept telling him over and over again, and maybe I was telling myself this as well, is one of the tricks to life is never peak too soon. Never think that your best day was behind you. Always make sure that the best day of your life is ahead of you. It's on the horizon somewhere. It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but it's got to be, have a vision for how your best day is out there,
I love
and
that.
make it your
Yeah.
last breath.
And to continue on that practice, right? That's why I like journaling, because it gives you moments of self-reflection to look at how far you've come.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm taking all these steps, but am I making progress? And if
Yeah.
you take 5 minutes to like
Go back.
actually reflect and like think about where you were 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 2 months ago, like you see all the progress you've made. And you're like, I need to acknowledge this, even though I'm not at the end goal that I think I want to be at.
I've never been a journaler,
It's
but
just about reflection.
the thing that's, so I think that it's more than reflection too. I think it's like a 2x factor of what it can do for you, because one, it can allow you to be able to reflect. And I think one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is to go back and identify the actions and behaviors of our past, so that we can use that as a moral compass to figure out how we make our decisions in our future, which is also a pathway to being able to learn how to forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made
Definitely.
without allowing yourself to live as a victim of your decisions.
Definitely.
But I know that one.
I don't know. It's just
Where
hits
is that
me.
one coming
I don't
from?
know. It just keeps hitting me. in the
Okay,
face.
guys, we've got a single fly
It
infestation in
loves
here.
me. I'm always the one with the bugs hit me.
The other part of that, though, oh, maybe I lost my track.
Sorry.
No.
Fly.
No. Let's go to the question. Let's do it. It'll bring us back.
Okay. Question number 2. Or 4, actually.
Question number 4. Yeah,
4,
I'll
okay.
do this just to make it easy
Yeah.
for us.
As you build a business and a family together, how have you found ways to stay connected as friends and partners? Step away.
Step away.
Make time to step away. That's like the only thing I can think
How
of.
do you two negotiate the time that you get to step away? Because
Yeah,
that's very
it
complicated
evolves.
in a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Because you are so busy. How do you figure out how to make sure that you don't resent each other when you
Yeah.
go and spend that time? Because the other person is kind of in the...
Sometimes we do run into issues where
Yeah.
we're like, we shouldn't have taken that weekend off because now we're
Well, it's
Very.
Yeah.
it's one of those Murphy's Law or whatever it is,
When you
that
leave.
when you'll have weeks and weeks of things, business is going on as usual. Maybe, got to fix a thing here, fix a thing there, nothing that you can't do on a phone or on a phone call anyway. And then it's like when you finally take that one weekend away, all of a sudden the panini press breaks, or
Someone quits, someone's
someone
sick,
quits, someone's
everything
this,
happens.
and
Yeah.
it's one of those things, and then that makes it very hard
to want to go away.
to want to go away.
I'm definitely the pusher of step out. Like I'm like, let's get away.
Yeah.
And he would much rather not do that.
I can get so easily stuck in
Yeah. Yeah.
the
But
grind in the
that
day.
probably is pretty identifiable for you, Theo, because you could go back and look at, is that a risk thing?
Yeah,
It's,
it is.
you know,
It's
because
risky to go
yeah,
away,
because the vacation is your reward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And,
absolutely.
but
The risk is being away.
The risk is that you might get news while
Yeah.
you're away that makes you
Yeah.
feel like you can no longer be present
Yeah.
in the reward, and that is enough sometimes to make you feel like you don't even want to do it.
There's no point.
I think so. I think that getting out of the grind is a big piece of it. But I also think when we're in the grind, like, how do we stay connected, right? Like, we're so different. We might tackle problems differently. We might interact with our employees differently. But, like, at the end of the day, we have a very solid shared vision, shared set of goals. Like, we have the same values. Like, that's why we get along, and that's why our relationship has always just, like, worked, because we have such commonalities between us that, like, I know that however he is handling it, it might not be how, like, I would do it.
Yeah,
or
there's trust.
whatever, but I just, like, know.
Yeah.
And I just try to remind myself, at least, speaking for myself here, like, whatever he's doing it for us, and he's doing it with the mentality that it's best for us and our team, and, like, it's that level of trust that's just, like, we trust each other through body, mind.
I got to be honest, guys, that's really beautiful. That's
Yeah.
exactly what you'd hope any couple would be able to articulate to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I also understand that as a couple, what you just described is probably not what it feels like to be
No.
in that
It feels
situation
hard.
all the time,
It
right?
feels
Definitely feels
it's
hard.
way
Yeah.
more
It's-
up and down on
yeah.
any given
Yeah.
conversation. But if you can hold on to that as your center
Try.
of what you come back to, that's really beautiful.
No, we
Yeah.
we both know that to our core, and we and that end goal inside. I think we've always known where we've wanted to be, both as parents and individuals, and everything. And I think the trust that we have together, which is why it works so well, is the trust that we try and bring to our team.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So let's use I'm going to create a scene for the two of you.
Yep.
Ooh, a scene.
And then you walk me through the way that you would have to handle it to be
Okay.
able to execute this. Okay. So you two have a 2-year-old daughter. Busy as you could possibly be. You've got the bakehouse, you've got the juice house, you've got the restaurant, which, do we have a name for the restaurant yet?
Yeah.
Marker 34.
Marker 34. Okay.
Yep.
So you've got Marker 34. You've got a lot going on in your life. You both hit your moment where you're like, all right,
We're burning out.
enough is enough.
We're burning
Like,
out.
if we keep going like this, the results are going to be worse.
Yep.
Let's slow down. Now walk me through, how do you communicate that to your team to make sure that you have prepared your team to allow you to go away for a weekend where you know that they understand that this is your opportunity to be able to come back with better perspective to be able to lead the team again?
I think that's ongoing, right? So it's not like, okay, we've burned out, now let's do that. I think that work is just always being done in the way that we work with our teams, like, every day. So that way it's not a huge deal when we need to step away,
Right.
right? Like I think we operate that way.
It's I operate that way in that and it all starts with trust. But it's the trust that I feel in them, that they want the place that they work to succeed as well.
Yeah. And how do you get that?
How do you get them to
Yeah.
do that? I mean,
You don't
you-
establish a lot of rules, which
It-
sounds
it's-
counterintuitive.
No, not. I
But
don't
like,
think so.
I think the same way we have these, like, shared common values with our own relationship, like, we know that our team, maybe not everyone at all times, but, you know, we work through people coming and going, right?
Right.
The core team, our GM, our
Right.
managers, the juice house, the people that we're hiring at Marker 34, they have the same values, the same high expectations of themselves, like the same, like, things. So I think we proceed with trust and allow them to sort of carve their own path there. I'm sorry, the flies are really getting me now.
I know. I feel bad.
No, you're good.
I
And
wish
then-
it was something that I could actually
No,
do. But
you're fine.
Like
I'm gonna get
one
it.
good swap, and we
Yeah,
might
I'm
get
gonna
this
get it.
thing. I don't know, or
It's-
however many of them there are.
Yeah.
the
But allowing them to sort of carve that path, I feel like gives them autonomy and sort
Yeah.
of like a empowerment. Like, we want to empower them.
That's exactly it, is being able to empower the team, not have, obviously we have standards.
Yes.
That's why I don't want to call them rules, I want to call them standards.
Yeah. So how do you define your standards for your team? Like, what would be the things that between the two of you that you feel like are the standards of bakehouse that you want everybody to be, or
Yeah.
all of your businesses
Yeah.
that you?
I think it's
Reliability.
reliability, but that
Okay.
it all starts with respect.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
starts with respect, and do you respect yourself, and do you respect people around you? It has to start with respect of self, because if you can't respect yourself, how can you respect anybody else around you? So, and then it grows from that. It's like, okay, you respect yourself and you respect what you're trying to build, and that
Yeah.
that like maybe I know that the bakehouse is ours. It's not their business. We're going to find in hospitality in general, you're going to find the people that want to make it their passion, but 75% of the people coming through are all transient. That you are a vehicle for them to live their life. So if they can respect themselves enough to know this is what they want to do in their life, and so this is a means for them to come in and do it, then they respect the business. And then they respect other people.
And
It's
then
the respect.
they naturally operate what you were saying about like in their best interest and in the best interest of their teammates. Like we're not going to be like, oh, if you show up late 3 times, you're fired. It's like if you have a habit that's like clear you're not respecting the support of your teammates and you're leaving them hanging during a rush, like
I'm gonna get this one for you, Kate.
no, it's
Wherever it
then
is,
that's not acceptable.
yeah, that's
But-
not
Yeah.
acceptable.
But that's I'm not going to make like a rule. Where
It's not.
like,
Yeah, it's not 3 strikes you're out.
Yeah,
it's
there's-
it's 1 strike happened.
yeah.
why did that happen?
Like, be curious. Why did
Be
you show up
curious.
20 minutes late?
We give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
To
We-
maybe to a fault.
probably to a fault, but I'm willing
but
to die on that.
I think you guys are at a really interesting position. I want to plug both of your businesses in this
you.
way, right? Like I don't know if you have a customer who comes to your businesses more than I do. I would assume
not.
that I'm probably
I
as
think-
frequent
You're
of
pretty
a customer
loyal.
as
Yeah.
anybody
We
else
appreciate
is.
it. Yeah.
And I come into your business that often because I really feel what you're saying right now is true in the way that I get treated by the people that work there.
Good.
It doesn't feel especially in the bakehouse, the juice house is a
Smaller.
little bit smaller and a
Yeah.
little bit more contained, and there's just less people that you run into on
Yeah.
any given day. But the bakehouse is a lot of different young people that
lot.
work there,
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
and I really came to appreciate how you gave everybody the room to be their unique self, but there was a clear framework of what everybody was meant to be doing, and they all seemed to have a focus on what was happening with the customers. Now, you've said this to me once, and I also am aware of the fact that I'm a really good customer. So it's not
you are.
hard. I don't mean
It's
that
not
as far as how many times I come in, but I show everyone respect at all times. So it's not difficult. I get respect back
Yes.
more often than not because.
Not everyone is a good customer.
No.
But what I will say is really, I think what I love about your business and what I think is happening there and what I'm so grateful to the two of you for doing is that it's an amazing place for young people to learn how to start to build the framework and the foundation of why work can be such an amazing and powerful and inspiring opportunity in your life. And so much of that is just showing up with the right attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, listen, if I'm going to spend my time serving coffee, I might as well do it in a way that allows me to be able to have a great experience, allows the person on the other end to have a great experience. Just that one lesson. And then if you carry that, like your next job, you carry that same attitude, all of a sudden you're so much more effective, you know?
Yeah.
But what I love about the industry, and it touches to that point, not everybody comes in and shows respect. And by respect, I mean even the simple thing of good morning.
Yeah.
So many people come up and say, I want a large iced latte and a muffin. You've like, good morning, how are you? Could I please have all of the, you don't hear that a lot, but we have the power because everybody's got so much stuff going on in their lives that some people are going to have bad days.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you're still deciding to come into my business and spend your money
Yeah.
on a product that I'm going to be able to give you because you're having a bad day. But I feel empowered to maybe make your day better.
Our
I feel like I have compared to, and in any job, in anything that you're doing, you're I don't know why it just comes to mind, but like you're doing people's taxes and everything. It's so hard to maybe feel like you not making a difference, but touching on being able to say when somebody finds out that I'm getting money back from my thing. Obviously, that's a great feeling, but you don't get to feel that all the time of just being able to change somebody's perspective in that day.
Yeah.
They've come in, they've had a bad day, they had a bad meeting, but they were able to walk in and they were served with a smile.
Yeah.
They were welcomed in. And maybe that's all you needed to switch your perspective to be like, you know what, today's not a shit day.
It's a body language business that you're in. You're in a body language business, and that gives you a lot of instant gratification opportunity every time you're able to see positive, but it also leaves huge opportunity for there to be negative.
Absolutely.
And you're in a business that requires you to hire young staff.
I was just going to
And
say,
young people have the hardest time being able to not to observe a feeling in the moment rather than being able to identify with it directly.
It's funny that you think this, because we've recently, like within the past few weeks, received a review that was like, I love the bakehouse. I come in all the time. Great coffee and sandwiches. The staff never make me feel welcome. And that really was like, oh my God, like, how could this be, right? So we don't, like, reviews are reviews, but we do read them, especially the bad ones, to try to learn from them, or just like kind of see what's going on out there. What are people saying about us? But it's like, you feel welcome. Most people that I talk to say that they love our staff. So that's like the majority, but like this person didn't feel welcome. And it's like, that could be an error on our staff. It could be an error on the customer. It's like, how do you know the truth, right? The truth of that story, everyone's truth is different. But also our staff can have bad days too. Like they can have personal things going on. And so I can't print out this review and say, you guys screwed up.
Yeah.
You guys made this customer feel uncomfortable, because like, we just don't know. And so how do you train a staff, I guess? It's like, we want them to be aware of it. We certainly were like, we got this review.
It's just to be aware, and it's all about perception and you know, somebody can walk in somewhere and just have such a negative attitude that they.
But also something could have happened.
Something but that's the thing. Something could have happened, and maybe they perceived somebody being short with them, or this and that. You never know. But it again all goes back to, if you don't have trust in your team, that I truly believe.
Whatever happened,
that they are looking out, that I'm not coming at them first, being like, what happened? Who did this? How could you possibly? One, there is always two sides to any conversation, and two, that it's okay. Everything happens. It's just important to be aware. Of how your actions can maybe,
and especially the younger staff, I feel like it's our duty almost to just like try to, like when Theo's working, like if he's behind the register, like it's extremely exhausting for him, but he could be there all day smiling at every person, dealing with every
I see you there all the time.
every bad customer in quotes, right? And I think that just like shows an example. And so if we get too busy and Theo's not in there so much, it's like, we need our GM to set that example, which I think she does do an amazing job at that. But like, and then sometimes we're like, okay, maybe Theo needs to get back in there too, and just remind people. So it's about having presence, too, and setting the example. Because how else do you teach them? You can't teach by telling. You have to show.
Well, there's a couple great leadership examples that you guys just pointed out, right? One, which is that I think that people need to know that the leadership that they're working for would never ask them to do something that they wouldn't do themselves, because that goes right back into that parenting hypocrisy thing that we were talking
100%.
about. Like, and it's actually quite strange that we've all lived under. At some point in all of our lives, we had someone tell us, "Do as I say, not as I do."
Yes.
And then when you examine that as a human being that should have your ability to be able to be a free thinker and to make your own determination, you're like, whoa, that's not even a thinly veiled manipulation. That is a direct manipulation of you trying to control the environment. So the ability to be able to set the example is obviously really important. The other thing that I would just say, if you don't mind, because this is the kind of stuff that I love geeking out on. But I think that what we're all striving to do And we have some young staff,
Yeah.
in different aspects of our business as well. And the goal is to figure out whether our business can be a vessel for all of us to be able to figure out that a great mindset is one where you see problems as opportunities, and that you realize that if somebody didn't have the problem of needing a coffee on a bad day, you wouldn't have a job behind that register.
True.
And so every time you run into somebody who's very kind to you, that's an opportunity for you to learn how to become a better customer. And every time you run into a bad customer, that's an opportunity for you to learn how to be a better employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that once you can set that in the mind, then all of a sudden it's a different game. And I actually think that what we should be trying to do is trying to make everything more playful.
Yeah.
Because people actually learn really well when they're interested. People are always more interested in games. And the more playful you can make the opportunity to be able to set something in motion, the less emotional you have to be by the time you start to evaluate what the thing is to do.
So it's very interesting. Being playful for me is actually quite hard.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's very hard for me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he loves to play.
Okay.
Loves to play. He would play anytime you say game. What game?
Yeah.
What game? Let's play a game.
Love playing.
I
I like discipline more than I like joy.
don't know what it is about me. Is that me? I actually don't know.
Discipline is the wrong
Yeah.
word for you.
And
But I think
I don't mean discipline is like, I mean
Yeah.
discipline is like I like having
Just,
things
like,
that I
getting things
can.
done, and I don't know. Like games feel. I think there's something about like people getting competitive that actually turns me off.
yeah. Well, you have very tough.
Do you come from a highly competitive family?
Yes, it's very competitive.
Yeah.
Play a game of Monopoly in that family is.
I
Cutthroat.
stopped engaging in board games at all with
Yeah.
my brother because he's awful.
I mean, he.
Be awful in. I don't want to throw shade on your brother. I don't know, but
he has a thriving business. He's so great. He's so smart. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of him. But he's like the most ridiculously competitive person in like a nasty way.
Okay.
And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is not fun. I'm
Yeah.
out. And like,
yeah.
but it's not just my family experience.
Oh,
It's also, I think, goes back to my school and
Yeah.
everyone being so competitive and getting
Right.
like this and that
Yeah.
and like the grades and the, and
I like
just
surprisingly on
reject it.
how I grew up. I actually like
he loves competing.
competing
Yeah.
Games, you just love having fun. And like to me, I just
because I feel like I have something to prove,
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
I
it
and
It
I
gives-
want. it gives me
I
that
roll my
benchmark
eyes.
of
Yeah.
like I won. That must mean that I am good.
anytime
Which is terrible.
someone's like,
but
let's play a
but that's
game.
where like as a younger child and like being like I want that validation that like
One of the things that we should probably just try in general, I don't mean today or between the three of us, but in general, we should try to open ourselves up to a little bit more is just
Yeah.
this idea that like there isn't a version of being you that's not good.
Yeah.
So if you have parts of you that don't want to be competitive, you have parts of you
Yeah.
that want to be
That's
competitive.
just who I am.
The really interesting thing behind that is trying to evaluate the why. You know, so because what you wouldn't want to do is feel like, oh, I don't like competition, but the why has to do with the nurture part of how somebody else made you not like it. And so you've denied yourself the ability to be able to figure out where your competitive edge is.
Yeah.
Or that I only like competition because it allows me to be validated through other people's eyes rather than being like, nope, this gives me
That's
this.
so interesting.
But the thing that I've noticed, especially in sports, that drives me freaking
sports.
crazy when my kids are playing sports in particular, is that I feel like parents have completely lost their understanding of the value of what sports actually does. And to me, the thing that the real value of sports and of that play is that it's consensual. And there's probably nothing that's more important for kids to learn than what consensual play looks like, and especially aggressive consensual play, because it is such an important thing before you hit puberty to understand that you do not have permission to play aggressively unless it's consensual. And the way that you do that is that you go out into a field and you create rules
You're on
and
a
you create
level playing
parameters,
field.
and it is an equality of opportunity for all people to
Yeah.
play within these rules. But if you've agreed to play within these rules, you don't get to whine about
There's
it
no
either.
exemption.
You've got to You've
Yeah.
got to go out there and you got to be held accountable for how you
What
actually
about
choose
those
to play.
kids like myself who were non-consensually engaging in sports?
That's another parenting thing, right? Which is
essentially engaging.
Okay,
Which-
I wasn't forced, but pretty much I was.
Yeah,
which might get to part of your why that you can explore
Yes.
of figuring out, man, do I not like this because I was forced to do it as a child and I
Probably.
felt out of place when I
We've
was
definitely
there.
talked.
and-
Yeah, I mean that's.
I mean,
definitely
I'm
a
so
part of-
tall, number one. So
Yeah.
everyone automatically is like, basketball? Are you athletic? Volleyball? Like, what do you do? And I think I was always forced into all these sports. And like, again, there's like that authoritative, like, okay, well, in this practice, we're going to run this many miles and do this many suicides. And I was like, this doesn't feel good to me. I don't want to do that, but I have to be here because everyone, I mean, I had to be there. In high school, they forced you to play sports,
Yeah.
or you get to go do like community service or the play, like the theater, which I was not interested in. Like that wasn't what I wanted to do. And that would have been like more embarrassing for
Yeah.
me to go that route.
So take me back to you as a kid.
Yeah.
Tell me if you could have done anything that you wanted to with your time and that somebody could have supported you and nourished you to be able to do what was the most Kate thing that you could have done then, tell me what that girl would have been
I think
doing.
it just would have been do less. I think that I don't know what it would have been. There's not like, oh, I have this like hidden passion that I never explored because I was sort of forced by parenting or by school or by society or peer pressure to do everything. I did
Yeah.
everything. I played instruments. I played so many different sports. I did languages. Like I did all these things. And I was a very social person. I am a social person naturally. So like I was always busy. But I really think the sports thing and the competitiveness and the judgment around it and maybe my failure of sports, like, because I'm not that good at them. I love yoga. I love not competing. I love being soft. I also have learned, which this is going to be this is a very personal thing that we don't have to get into, but I've recently found out I have a genetic disorder where I can't build a lot of muscle. And I'm also quite fragile when it comes to like my heart and my aorta.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe I just learned about it last year and it's changed my entire pregnancy the second time. I didn't know about it with my first pregnancy. But it's like kids that get diagnosed with this genetic disorder now are told not to play sports.
Interesting.
And I never knew that. None of my family didn't know we had this until last year. So it's a
Right.
brand new thing. But like it sort of validates in a way of me trusting my own body that like
Yeah.
this doesn't feel good for me. But because I'm tall, everyone is like, you better be good at this. And then the failure of like letting coaches down or teams down or like just like being a waste, right? And like that was a huge piece of my upbringing because I was very tall and there was a lot of expectations on it, especially in private schools where sports are king. And you know what's interesting? Someone came to the big house. There's someone who lives in Amesbury who I went to Govs with. She was like a year or two older than me, and she always
remember this
and she always does the play. She's so sweet. I love her. She comes in all the time. She's a very loyal Bakehouse Juice House customer. And she was talking to Theo when I wasn't there, and was like, "I know your wife from high school," but she was always like so sporty and athletic.
Yeah.
And so she had this vision of me where, because she wasn't doing any sports, like that's how she saw me, but I didn't ever, I was like, he laughed. He was like, really? Because
Yeah.
like that's not
my
how she
wife.
sees herself at all.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just an interesting full circle.
Maybe, Kate, maybe some of what you were experiencing too was what we all experience at different times in our lives in different ways, which is why couldn't I trust my gut?
Yes.
And who wouldn't allow my gut to be trusted?
That's the question.
And why, when I said something wasn't right, did people not listen to me and take me seriously? Because
Yes,
now,
I think that's it.
now the other side of that that's also really complicated is like, okay, so if you find out that you do have something that is different about the way that your body works and the way that that you want to work with it, how do you still find that ability to be able to forgive yourself for knowing that is, that your gut was telling you that you didn't need to do something and you weren't being listened
but I had to do it anyways. I
but
don't know.
but still not feeling like you're a victim of whatever your body is not giving you the ability to do, because your body can do a lot of amazing things. That's like
You're
so
nailing
incredible,
it. God, it's
right?
like therapy.
Yeah.
Well,
It is. Yes, it's absolutely what I'm struggling with right now.
I think it's a struggle of every
Yes.
adult everywhere in the world right now,
Yeah.
is figuring out like, okay, listen,
I'm
Some
different,
things-
but I'm amazing.
Exactly. And what
Yes.
exactly does that mean? And how do I
Yeah.
set those parameters? And because I think if we don't set those parameters, what we aren't doing for ourselves is we're not giving ourselves the target of self-love. And if you're not doing that, then what the fuck is the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of all of this work that we're doing if at the end of it you don't figure out how to love the uniqueness of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I certainly, my journey to that took, I think for everyone can take however long it does, but yeah, it took me a really long time to, I think that's why not now, it's funny, Kate reads a lot now, I don't, but I used to, but it was nothing. I love to immerse myself in stories and in whether it was either movies or stories, but very fictional, because I truly wanted to be something different.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the hero of the story.
Yeah.
And I never felt growing up that I had the capacity to be the hero of my story.
Right.
So
Which is-
I would always get lost in these amazing stories, and that would make me feel good.
Yeah.
And then took a hell of a long time, but I started to realize I now really like. I mean, I
Who
don't.
you
know-
are.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
like
do.
who I am. I know there are still things
Yeah.
to work on, but I like who I am, and I see an end goal in how again, going back to what my parents did and what my brother does. It was very easy. Not stepping stones, but path of you do this correctly, you get this job, you're that, you get to a point where you are obviously a very well respected
Yeah.
and done incredibly well in your job, I think both for me and then also for my parents. And it's amazing how becoming a parent
Changes your
changes your perspective and makes you so
Instantly.
empathetic
Yeah.
to what my parents must have had to go
Totally.
through
Yeah.
having us. But I don't think they I think for them, and they didn't see
Yeah.
and how, and there were times they definitely knew I was suited for hospitality.
Yeah.
I think I looked at that back in the day as like a negative, in because I think the goalpost maybe of like what you could end up doing with your life was they didn't really know what those looked like.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
maybe they set goals like, I still remember one, we were sitting where I went to boarding school up in North Yorkshire in the UK. Amazing part of the country. My parents would come, we'd drive the Yorkshire moors, go to bed and breakfasts, and and bed and breakfast specifically is something that is so common in the UK. But I remember we were sitting at one, and I think it was my dad or my mom was like, you would be so good at this, just having, and to me that was like not a neg, but like, you only think that I could have like a small little thing where I would cook for people, but it's like my own, like a little house that some people would come to, and that's it. Instead of, my dream, what we're building here is I want to build a hospitality company.
Right.
And yeah, so I definitely, knowing yourself and who you are and learning to love yourself
but in that
is
pivotal
so...
puberty, middle school, high school age, it's like really challenging to
Yeah.
trust who you are, because when
Yeah.
you're just figuring it out and you're really concerned with who your friends are and what they do and the expectations of your parents, and like it's a really tough time, and not in a bad way. I had a very lovely upbringing. It's just like when you're trying to like trust your gut, it's very hard. And like now in my adult life, I do trust my gut and I know who I am, but it takes, and that's always an evolving journey too.
Yeah.
But
So our mission, I think I shared this with you when we first sat down, our mission in what we're trying to do as a whole is to help people escape the prison of their own self-doubt through the pursuit of mastering themselves.
yeah,
Right. And what the reason that's our mission is because essentially that's been my mission for myself, is to try to figure out, okay, not everything has gone the way that I wanted it to,
yeah,
but I still have a lot of life left. How am I going to maximize the opportunity that I have left? And what I have found is that what we're all trying to figure out is, what's our hero's journey? What is the journey that we're going to take where at the end of it, we lay our head down on a pillow and we're like, fuck yeah. Like
Doing
that,
great
that was a
things,
good
yeah.
day. I felt good about what I did.
Yeah.
I really like who I am. I really like what I'm bringing to the world. I like the relationships that I have with people.
Yeah.
And what we found was that it required three things. It required accountability first. Then it required your ability to be able to build trust with the people that you're around. And more importantly than trust with the people that you're around, it requires you to become trustworthy. And the last thing is that you have to have a desire to understand that what you want to try to do is to be present in more moments. And I think that that's, what is a lot of what's missing in the daily stuff is that, like, when I think about parenting my kids, I have been drawn at many times of parenting them to parenting the surface of them. So are you doing this? Are you not doing this? Are you doing, and now maybe it's because it's an evolution of what parenting is as your kids get older. And maybe I think it's more likely that it's an evolution that I'm going through and that I'm trying to share with them more honestly and more, I want to develop a real relationship with my children. I don't want it to be I don't want it to be superficial.
Yeah.
And so I think what that requires is that I have to parent them at their depth, not at their surface. And so to me, the only place that I've ever been able to find my depth is in why. I have to explore everything. And the way that I've found for me to do this, and it does not mean that it's for everybody else, is that first I had to work on self-awareness. The next thing I had to work on my discipline and make sure that anything that I was aware that I was doing that was pulling from my ability to be better, I had to figure out why I wanted to make a change. And I have been addicted to so many different things, and I don't mean that as a substance thing. I don't, that's never been a relationship that I've had a hard time with, but I mean like, addicted to, waking up and looking at my phone first thing, addicted to like, just take that and extrapolate that across a million things that you could be doing every day. And the more self-awareness you build is your opportunity to be like, why do I want to look at my phone the first thing I wake up? Is that the most important thing to me? Holy shit, did I make this the most important thing to me? What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Shouldn't I be looking at the person who I'm building a life with and make that the first thing that I show my gratitude towards, not this? And when you start doing that, then you're like, okay, can I apply the discipline of wanting to know why I make those changes? Then can I prove to myself that I have the resilience to be able to handle a hard day and come back? Once I've got those, can I move over and can I start to offer what I offered myself through self-awareness to somebody else who needs empathy? They need me to be able to see that there's something special behind some of those shitty patterns, just like I found out that there was something special behind some of my shitty patterns. Then can I be honest? Then can I be consistent? Then can I be emotionally regulated? Then can I take all of that lack of thinking about my past and concern about my future, and can I turn it into focusing on something that really means something to me and somebody else? And most importantly, I think that the goal for me personally, and the goal that I want to try to have for my children, and just trying to be as honest with everybody else about this as I can, is I want to learn how to become grateful for my time. I want to learn how to wake up every day and be like, whoa, I got another chance. This is all opportunity. No matter what happened to me yesterday, I just woke up. And I have found that the most complicated part of all of this is it's not like you reach the end of any of these journeys. It's like every day you go to bed and you're like, okay, I think that was a good day. And then the next day you got to wake up and you got to be like, oh my God, I got to be self-aware all over again. I also have to apply all of this discipline. But the truth is that we get good at anything we practice. But what people never ever tell you is that you also get really good at practicing shitty things. And the more you practice, the more you master shitty things.
Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent.
Right. I've also heard people say practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfection, whatever that is. But two really good ways of being able to frame that, right?
It doesn't matter what you're practicing. It could either be bad for you, and the more you do it, it's just more ingrained in your life. But also if you're practicing the wrong way, you're not going to achieve the result that you want.
Yeah, it's so
I've got
interesting.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
You haven't done an envelope yet. Are you
Yeah,
ready?
let's
for
give
that?
me a
I'm
question.
ready for
Am
an
I right
envelope.
that this is
Number
Great.
5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is your moment, Theo.
All right.
Dig into it. You know what I mean? Really give
What-
us that full British accent.
mispronounce.
Yeah, all right. Don't miss. My
Say
dyslexia is really going to come out.
I
here.
put aluminum into that question just so you could say it the proper way. You know what I mean?
What helps the two of you keep honesty strong when there are a lot of shared responsibilities happening at once?
Say it one more time.
I'll say it one more time. What helps the two of you keep honesty strong when there are a lot of shared responsibilities happening at once?
It's a tough one.
Honesty is a tricky one too, right? Because there's a pull in all of us to want to be able to have a container of things that we feel like are our own private little world that we live in. And yet my experience is that that's not how intimacy works. Intimacy works that if you have your own little private container of things, that what you're really doing is you're lying to yourself, thinking that that container of things isn't affecting the other person. And it always is.
So that's really interesting that you bring that up. I think something that Kate and I are always working on in our relationship. Again, we're two very, very different people. The way that Kate processes things and processes stress and how you deal with it is very different from how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Kate is a talker. She needs, but you need to talk through everything that's going on so that you can.
Especially with you because it affects you,
Yes.
right? So it's like, it's not like it's stress at work and then I come
Yeah.
home and
Yeah.
leave it. It's like,
Yeah.
It's
But
everything,
our
and
stress.
it's
Like,
all.
can we slow down and say, like, what a beautiful gift that you are with
Yeah.
somebody who's willing to talk to you about everything that's going on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I think
Absolutely.
sometimes we think of these things as what is the burden, but really on the other side, there's an enormous gift too, right?
Absolutely, and what I am trying to learn, and this is just the way that I've dealt with everything for most of my life, is I internalize everything. And I mean, say what you will about astrology, science, and all this, and whether you not believe it, but I'm a Cancer. And there are specific things that I emote very heavily, but I've got I really internalize things and keep a tough exterior shell because I am very emotional and I don't want to and so the work that I need to do is opening up and knowing that, yes, even though this is my stress, it's not my stress, it's our stress because we're a we.
yeah,
not
like
just
you have to
an-
bring me into that
Yeah, I
shell
have-
with
and-
you.
and-
Can I share one thing, Theo?
Yeah.
You and I bumped into each other how many times at the bakehouse? Like a dozen,
Yeah,
maybe, where we got to
absolutely.
have interactions. My favorite interaction that I've ever had with you was the day that your daughter slammed her finger in the door. Not my favorite moment
Yeah.
because I instantly.
yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it like almost made me tear up
Yeah.
even talking to you. But it was the first time where you and I had an interaction where we met each other at something that we could both feel, and I could see it in your eyes that you were just having a moment, and I wanted to try to be in that moment with you
Yeah.
to the best of my ability. But it just made me like you so much more. It made me feel like, okay, this is a real human who is doing his best to raise somebody that he deeply loves. And I had also had a moment where when my oldest son was really young, his hand got caught in the door and it was me who shut the door. And I still remember that moment. It still haunts me to this very day of that feeling of like,
I can feel my whole
the
body
person,
tensing up.
right? The person who I want to keep safe,
Yeah.
I just hurt.
Yeah.
That breaks my cardinal rule of everything that I stand for, and I did it by accident. How am I going to forgive myself for
Yeah.
this? It's a very complicated thing to go through, and I so admired you in that moment for being willing to be able to share something when you were at work behind a cash register for somebody who, at best, we knew each other casually, but not with any depth. I admired that about
Thank
you.
you.
It really was one of the things that made me want to talk to you more.
Thank you. For better or worse,
But then there's the other side too, where we're both working on like being totally honest with each other. And
Yeah.
I know that to get his honest feelings and truth, sometimes I need to shut the fuck up. And that's hard for me to do because I feel better when I talk it out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to sort of like understand that if I'm quieter, I can either pick up on his subtle body language or subtle signals. Sometimes they're words. Sometimes it's not words. It's just like I can just see a look on his face, or it's mostly body language. And then I can know how he's honestly feeling about
Yeah.
something. But that has taken years for me, and I still don't got it down perfect. But I think we're both trying to like learn to speak each other's truth is how we try to do that. But
Yeah.
that again is not a perfect model.
What do you guys What do
Perfect.
you guys think is like the pinnacle of a relationship? Like, how would you describe what would be the what would be the optimal way? Not even between the two of you necessarily, but like, what's just the optimal way for two people who have decided that they're in love with each other and that they want to try to build a life together? What does success look like in that?
I mean, a couple different things. Something that springs to mind right away is to remember that you are a cohesive unit, but you are also two individual people.
Equal, but different.
Equal but different. And again, what is maybe right for you in a moment isn't necessarily what's right for me. Again, a relationship is all about compromise.
Yeah.
How can, when someone's having a worse day, how can you compromise to maybe take on a little more than you're willing to, or than you can in that day, but even compromise on how you.
I think it's a success when like we're truly each other's like stability
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
world where we've got so much going on.
Yeah.
That
Very
like,
noisy world. That
very-
you two bring each other peace.
Yeah, I think that I would say that we're successful at that.
Yeah.
Of course, life's going to throw us more and more challenges. More kids equal more challenges. More businesses
Yeah,
equal
and
more
more joy.
challenges and more joy.
Yeah.
And more reward, right?
Yeah.
And more building, but like that, like sort of up and down. But like, I think us knowing without even having to talk, yes, I'm looking at myself, like knowing that we're solid and stable and like we trust each other to like be there through the ugly days and the celebratory days where we say, damn, that was a good day. Like
Yeah.
we're crushing it. I'm proud of us. But then the days where there have been tears where I'm like, what are we doing? We're overloaded. And especially this winter was really tough for us. But for me, I think I was early stages of being pregnant, number
Right.
one. It was my first trimester. And then the winter itself was tough because of the weather. And our businesses had to close for a lot more days than we've ever been used to. And even when we weren't closed, the weather was bad, so business was just naturally
Yeah.
slow.
And it was just a tough winter.
Yeah.
Everyone was having a tough winter.
Yeah.
Plus, we piled on this new restaurant project, which was creating a stress. So
Right.
we just had like a lot coming at us. And like, again, first trimester being pregnant, I was very emotional and not feeling great. And there was like quite a bit of tears. But like, I just like kind of questioning, like, what are we doing? Are we doing too much?
Is all at once too much?
Is it too much? Is it going to break us? And I think that was a challenge that I think we've overcome it. I mean, it's April, the winter's just ending, right? Like it's, but I'm feeling better. We're in a better place in the project. Like the business is in a better place. Like everything's fine. But knowing that we can get through turmoil and tough, like together, even when I'm crying and he's just trying to keep our toddler happy and keep the pieces together and this and that, like you can falter and like have each other. I think that's how I know that we are having a successful time together, and that each challenge and season that we go through will kind of like reinvent that wheel for us,
There's a couple things that I wish that as men and women we were able to talk about a little bit more freely, which one is that we have completely different biological cycles.
Yeah.
So now, like, I'll explain from the man's perspective, and then I want to do my absolute best to make sure that I'm not mansplaining what
Please,
a
yes.
woman's experience
Yes.
is. But from a man's cycle, we go through our genetic cycle every 24 hours. So the creation of sperm, all of that, that's a cycle that is meant in most people's bodies to happen over a 24-hour period. My understanding of the way that a woman goes through that cycle is that takes 30 days, essentially.
Yeah.
So the way that we're experiencing the ups and downs that happen at any given moment is radically different from each other, and it's really difficult for us to be able to express the level of generosity we could offer one another if we just tried to have a more direct conversation about the challenges of what it is to be a woman and the challenges of what it is to be a man, and figure out how we can balance each other out by being like, listen, I'm going through my own cycles on a 24-hour basis, but I feel like I can regulate that to some degree. And I know that if you're in the peak of what is the tough part of your cycle, how do I just come in and just fill the gaps of what you need to make sure that you can get through that part? Because it might also be that when you're in the upswing, things are great, but a downswing is so much more severe than what the other person could possibly understand. There might be some of that exists in both directions, but I think obviously the more extreme, from what I've heard, is on the woman's side of what you experience.
It's just different, right? Like it's just different. And I think being pregnant is a whole new cycle thing that like just, I don't even truly understand the effects that it takes changes on, you know what I mean? I do know that physically in the first trimester, I felt like dog shit. And that was really hard to like be a present mom to a toddler and a business owner and working and a wife. Like that was just, it was hard. And it was awful weather. Like in the sun, I guess I just like love the weather, being outside.
Yeah.
Winter was really hard.
You know what I would love to do with the two of you if you're open to it? What? Like if by the time we're done with this, if you enjoy the experience of doing this, I think it would be so cool if you want to come back and whatever cadence you're comfortable with. Yeah. Because I think it would be really interesting for people to be able to see themselves through the same cycles of what we're all going through, right? Which is like, okay, it's going to be a tough winter. Yeah. Like let's just bear down and allow it to be a tough winter. And then when spring comes out, let's get some vitamin D. Yeah. Let's all reassess where we're at. But I think that's what I was having this conversation with probably Oliver. Oliver, you can chime in if it was you or if it was Trevor or somebody, but we were talking about how life seems to be its hardest in beginnings and endings. So anytime something is about to begin or anytime you know something needs to end, those are the two times where life is its most stressful, it's the hardest. And a lot of adulthood is in beginnings and endings.
I believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
And a lot of adulthood, especially maybe in your 20s and 30s, can be quick beginnings, quick endings. And then you get into long-term beginnings and endings and you try to find that time. And then maybe even you find stability in long-term beginnings and endings with your partner. But then you go into another phase where it's like you get into end-of-life stuff if you get old enough, where you have to deal with what that is. And the permission that we might be able to give each other is to be able to see each other in the season. Yeah. You know, where are we right now? Are we at the beginning of something? Are we at the end of something? Can we love each other in the season that we're in? Because that's really difficult. The other thing that I was thinking as you guys were talking, and I don't know if this would be something that both of you would agree with, but I've always found that one of the things that could be the most powerful thing in a relationship is that once you've fallen in love with somebody, it's an amazing opportunity to be generous without thinking you need anything in return. You know, and if you could get both partners to feel that way about each other, that would be an incredible experience to be able to wake up every day and be like, you know, I just want to figure out how I can help you live your best life. What is that going to look like? What what can I do for you today? And if you could feel that from each other as genuine as you can.
Someone's also trying to help you do that.
Well, the challenge is though, and this is a real challenge, this is like the hardest challenge, is that it requires you to not think that your partner is the reason why you feel shitty.
Right.
Because as soon as you do that, then you're like, well, I wouldn't feel this way if
you didn't do this.
That fucking sock wasn't on the ground where it is right there, I would be in a great mood. But that sock is driving me a little crazy, and I got.
We joke about that stuff all the time, but it is true. Like we have habits that are different, and I'm like, you're driving me crazy.
Yeah. Well, how could you not like? You live
but again, and just in general, and even we were talking before this, like couples who. Different body temperature regulated or things like that, but
I still think that dating app, by the way, could be $1 billion idea. I think we'd skip million altogether and go right to billion.
Right to the B. But it's about celebrating your differences and again compromising to be able to meet in the middle to create this whole new identity that is the togetherness instead of the individuality.
It's a whole new, that's
And-
honestly,
and-
that's what we're trying to do, is like build a new identity for
Yeah.
us
And
in
it's so
our
much-
home with our kids and take from both of our family.
Yes.
And it's so much
experiences.
stronger.
Yes.
To what
Yeah.
Kate said at the beginning of this, I would never be able to do this by myself.
Yeah.
And I
She'd
certainly
never be able
wouldn't
to do that by
it.
herself. There are people in this world that can,
Can
take
run
on
bus-
that
like
can
you,
take
who
on a
can
lot.
run your
Yeah,
own
yeah,
business.
yeah.
But
But
I
can I
think-
tell you guys, you could.
No.
You could. I promise you could. The thing is that you just don't want to.
Probably.
And I mean that in the most generous way.
Yeah.
Like so you can use me as an example of that. Like you could do it, but I'm telling you, it's way more fun if you
Yeah.
do it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way better. So you're so lucky, and to be
Well,
able to
and
be
so
able to
lucky.
have that gratitude for one another is an amazing thing to be
And
able
you think
to hold
about,
on to.
to your point, that is very true. Anyone can do
do you
anything.
wanna do?
It's like
Yeah.
we always talk about when we had our first and then we had our second. We're like, whew, no twins. Like great. Like how do
Yeah.
people do that? I would never be able to do that.
Well,
Wrong.
you just do.
Yeah.
Wrong. You and I think when people do ask us, how are you doing everything all at once?
Yes.
Just
And
do
I
it.
just say, I don't know how. Because
You surrender a little
because
bit.
you surrender to the chaos. You surrender
You
to
give up control over the things you can't.
and you just make it happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would much rather spend my life now
Mm-hmm.
in chaos and making it happen, because I do have an end goal in mind. I am not here. I do not live to work. I work to live. And it's okay if that's just my mentality. That was definitely something, especially when I studied abroad in Australia. Collectively, as a country, I felt that so much more.
Yeah.
You've got people who just want to enjoy themselves, and that's okay. It's okay to not want to dedicate yourself to work or to like. It doesn't mean you're any less involved or any less
Hardworking. or anything.
hardworking
Yeah.
or anything like that. If anything, maybe you're more hardworking because you want to like
I think that
get away from it.
a theme that's interestingly coming out of this episode, although I do think that we hit the theme right with all at once,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? But like I think that the other thing that's coming out of this is like, why can't we just let each other be each other?
Yeah.
Why does everybody else have to be the way that I would do things or
Yeah.
the way that somebody, you know what I mean? Why isn't it that we can't just celebrate that, you know, for you've got this tremendous drive to be a part of a family, and that was probably embedded in you at a very deep age. I also felt that when I was a kid. I remember when I was a kid very clearly, and this is probably like, you know, before I was 10 years old, thinking like, oh, the whole point of all of this is to be a dad. And I deeply admired my father, so that
Yeah.
was an easy you know, connection to
Yeah.
make. But like the whole point of this is to have a family and to be able to be around a kitchen counter and having some people chopping food up and some people chit-chatting with each other and some people doing all of this stuff, and for everybody around that environment to feel like they are a part of something and that they are completely loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
That's got to be the point.
Yeah.
But then you live life and you realize that, you know, if you have that version of your life, incredible,
Yeah.
but that there's also every decision that you make has a consequence, and that consequence is compounding.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and if you start making decisions that are compounding in directions that don't, you know, get you closer to that, other people can also make decisions, and their
Yes.
decisions can be compounding on you, and you can have nothing to do with it and still have to deal with the effects of it.
Yeah.
Very complicated to be able to live in the way that the world really works, even if you have the idea of what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And almost always, it causes all of us to allow the death of the identity that we had for what our family and life was going to be, and to be able to fully fall in love with and embrace the version of whatever it is that, you know, that the consequences of your decisions have brought you to in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh.
What was
30
that?
minutes?
That's 30 minutes left.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Is
okay.
this crazy? Like, tell me the truth. So when you knew that we were going to do a 3-hour podcast,
Yeah.
did that feel like an extraordinary amount of time to be able to do a podcast in? And has this gone faster than what you thought it would?
To me, no. But
I think I wonder if everyone else will want to watch it. I think being in it,
Yeah.
it goes by so fast. And if when we talk with you, 1 hour goes by like so fast. And when you set like a 45-minute meeting thing, you can't get everything you want to say in, and you're just scratching the surface. So to me, it like makes sense, and like it feels good to talk this much. But it's like, I wonder if people listening to us will still be interested at 3 hours in, you know?
So here's the interesting thing about our business model is that we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I
Which
mean?
I
So
love,
like if
yeah.
people want to listen, awesome. If they
Yeah.
don't want to listen, but I would assume that if we're having really a good time talking,
Then
that
they'll
it's
be
pretty likely that
entertaining.
somebody will have a good time listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
true.
we're just going to put it out there and see what happens.
I love
But
it.
I love, I've just, this has been the first time that I've had a chance to do one of these with people who I don't know as well. Everybody else that's come onto the podcast were people who I've been talking to for years.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun to talk to the two
This
of
is so
you
fun.
and
This is
learn
like-
something new.
It's sort of
and-
therapeutic for
It's
us.
therapeutic. It's funny from someone, as we've talked about, that I internalize a lot and don't like to communicate.
Yeah.
Doing something like this is never a problem for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I like to be engaged in conversation with other people,
Yeah.
but not necessarily like just about like my feelings or my like it's just so centered on me. It's just like we get to connect.
Well, I think that the other thing, so what we're doing right now, in my mind, this is conversational education, right? Like we're sitting around a table and we're allowing each other to be able to engage in a conversation where at any given moment we could be learning something about each other.
Yeah.
What we learn about each other could be an opportunity to learn something about ourselves. What we learn about ourselves could be an opportunity to be able to figure out how we can interpret that into opportunity for others. I mean, there's so much that happens in
100%.
conversation, but that's not how everybody learns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people also learn through playing games. Some people learn through being
Everyone's
coached.
different.
Everybody's different, right? So here's where we're at in what we're doing. We've got a half an hour left.
Okay.
We've got 4 questions left. I think we should focus on the last 3.
Okay.
But if
Okay.
we did all 3, we'd have to do kind of like a speed round.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, we go to that.
What do you want to do?
I think that would be fun. Let's
Let's try it.
let's do that. This is all sort of about a future. I feel comfortable doing it this way because it feels like you guys will come back, and even if we don't
Yeah,
cover
yeah, we
all
will.
of this,
We
we'll figure
absolutely
it out,
will.
right? Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go.
Speed round. Future. As you've learned to manage all of this at once, what helps you both stay present with what matters most? Well, we had a involuntary experience last week where, like I mentioned, I have this genetic disorder going on, and it's affected the care that I'm receiving for the pregnancy that I'm going through.
Because they have to be able to give you different kinds of nourishment. To
They're
make sure that-
tracking me a lot more closely
It's
than,
just
Yeah.
put her in a very high risk
Yeah.
category.
Yeah,
but I'm not high risk though.
I know. This is the same thing that I think every time somebody's like, "Do you wear a Whoop watch? Are you wearing one of those rings that measures your heartbeat?" I'm like,
Correct.
I'm pretty sure my heart's working, so I don't know if I want more
Yeah,
information.
I
Like
don't
this might
want
be
more.
too much
Yeah.
information.
This is too much. But
I think I slept last night. I don't need to know exactly how many hours
Yeah.
So like I don't want the high risk care, but I'm basically being forced into it because of what I've been diagnosed with. So anyways,
Can you set boundaries with that? Can you
I'm
say
learning.
like, yeah,
I'm learning where to set them. And something we learned last week was like there was a scan on my heart that the doctors did not like. So they were very alarmist, sent us to the emergency room
Oh, it's
all
terrifying.
day. It was terrifying, like to the point where they would not let me drive myself, even though I felt 100% fine. They were going to put me in an ambulance to go to the ER in Boston. And
Oh
like
my
I just was
God.
like, I'm fine. Where's this coming from? Like trying to be logical, trying to trust my gut. Like I feel good. But anyways, we had a very, very terrifying long day with like thinking the worst case would be like
Yeah.
open heart surgery.
oh my,
And so
and you have to think for 2 simultaneously.
Yes, and
which
3
is
'cause
so,
we have a
3 because we have the
daughter.
daughter, and
Yeah.
it was
all day long we
so
were
sorry, guys. Literally, I'm very
no,
I'm so
it's,
sorry. You
it's
had to go through
okay.
that.
It was just one of these things, right? That it helped us going through this really awful, intense, as you said, the word intense keeps coming up as a theme too. Experience reset our brains last week.
Yeah.
This is just the most recent example of it. Like I'm totally fine. I knew that we were fine, but just the idea of potentially not being fine, potentially not making it through something, or being in the ER and just seeing people, who really need help, and like how tough some people are going through things, and the nurses that work there who are literally heroes. Like it definitely reset our brain. Like that night we were like, who even cares about business stress? Who even cares if like we screwed up something or we lost money on this idea or whatever? Like we're healthy and we're home having dinner with our daughter.
Do you guys think that maybe that's why
It
life
probably-
can't avoid
Yes.
having some level of extreme ups and downs? Because if you
Yes.
didn't, you wouldn't be able
We'd
to.
probably still be worried about something not stupid, but something stupid.
Yeah.
That, I think that is worthy. What you just said
Okay.
right there is worthy
Perfect.
of that one question.
There you
in and of
go.
itself.
Right. Let's go right into number 8, I believe this
Number 8.
is.
Is that your lucky number?
5 was supposed to be my lucky number, but that's just what a palm reader said one time. What do you want to focus your time on most, and how should that be felt by the people who walk into your business?
I'll let you answer first, even though I'm getting ideas.
What do you want to focus your time on most, and how should that be felt by the people who walk into your business?
Do you want me to answer first?
You can answer first. I think I need to think.
I think what we spend, so there's like what we focus on for business versus like our personal lives, right? I think
Right.
for the business, what we want to spend or what we do spend our time on most is creating a safe space. And I don't mean safe like, are we safe in here? It means like safe to like meet people, safe to open up, to like be your authentic self, to feel comfortable, to enjoy. And like the space itself matters, right? Like we hired an incredible designer to help us do the juice house. Everyone's like, wow, like, why did you do that? Why did you go so big? And we're like, the space itself really matters. And you get that because your studio here is beautiful and it allows us to feel comfortable and it sets the tone. And I think that, yes, we're going to have great staff and high quality this and all the things that we're going to like check. But when we like look forward, like it's about the spaces we're creating, the physical spaces that allow for like everything else to kind of grow around it.
And I think, it's building the team to value the same things that we want to value, and we kind of joke about this all the time, but obviously running your own business is incredibly stressful. It's hard. It's tough. What I want people to feel when they walk in is that it's not.
Yeah, we don't want them to feel our burden.
That's
I don't want.
great
At
idea.
all.
I don't.
It's like our number one
And it's
thing.
it's a bit of a, I think there comes with a bit of its own problem of and certainly how I feel in this incredible community that supports us so much is because I've set my sights so high. I keep wanting to do more, and we're opening more and more businesses. And I think a lot of people, when they come into the bakehouse, people who are there every day, every week, whatever, sometimes when they see me and they're like, "Oh, hey, haven't seen you in a while," good and so,
By
and-
design.
yeah, and I feel like I either have to justify why I'm not there,
Yeah.
because again, everybody's got their own perception, and so if they walk in and they feel like, oh, this is incredible business, they do so well, they like, it's great, that's great, but I think it also maybe then opens up the door to them thinking, are they working hard?
Yeah.
And that we don't need to justify that.
And that
to
I
Yeah.
don't
people.
need to
We-
justify.
Could I offer
to-
one insight, just as somebody who does walk through your doors
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time? I think that you're executing exactly what it is that you want to achieve. And I
Thank
think
you.
one of the reasons why you're executing that is that you have chosen to bring together a collection of young people who are very much trying to figure out who they are. It's very obvious when you're in there that these are all a group of young people who are trying to find themselves. And the thing that's so weird about being that age and trying to find yourself is that everything about what you think you're trying to find is something that ignites drama. You know what I mean? Your whole life when you're a teenager is that I need to feel alive through being dramatic.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize at that age that you start to realize as you get older is that what you're actually seeking at every age is peace.
Yeah.
That what you want to do is you want to walk into an environment and you want to feel
We want that space
peace.
to be peace.
And I think what the two of you do exceptionally well is you give these young people a very peaceful environment to be able to come into. And whether they know it on a daily basis and whether they're perfect at it is not even the point. But you give them an environment where you give them the opportunity to be able to feel peace. And I'm not saying that I know that this is true, but I would be willing to bet, just based on statistics alone, that there are several people who work at your businesses who come from chaotic homes, that come from places where they don't know how to get a word of encouragement, that nobody has ever told them that they feel pride in them, that nobody has ever told them that they're a really great person, that they have potential, that they have amazing things. And when I'm in your coffee shop, I feel like
That's like
you
so nice.
I feel
That's
like
really
you guys
nice.
might be giving them words of encouragement that they're not finding anywhere else.
Thank you.
And my experience is that if even one adult in a young person's life can offer them kindness and guidance, that sometimes can make all the difference. And working at a coffee shop could set you
reminder.
up for the rest of your life. So
Really
Thank
good
you.
I
reminder.
really appreciate the work that you're doing. I
Thanks.
appreciate that it's happening in a community that I engage in and that I live in. And we actually have pretty parallel experiences because we both work in Amesbury
Yeah.
and we both live in Newburyport.
Yeah.
Yep.
So shout out to that.
Shout out to that.
Okay, I'll read the last question.
All right.
Okay.
When you look back at this chapter of your life, what will matter most to you about how you chose to build it together?
Say it one more time.
Okay. When you look back at this chapter of your life, what will matter most to you about how you chose to build it together?
How we chose to build it together. My brain is swirling because I have so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
perspectives.
And you can just let it out. What are you thinking? What's coming?
Celebrating
through?
the small wins.
Okay.
Knowing that we always did the right thing for the people that we care about, including our staff, but also including our family. Like,
So that you understood your priorities,
Yeah.
even regardless if the short-term gains weren't there, the long-term
Yes.
perspective
Absolutely.
was held. That's a great
Yep.
one, guys. What a
Yeah.
wonderful thing to feel about yourself.
that's all I want to look back and be like. And I think I'm inspired to do that by my dad and the way he ran his business for 30 years. It's like he always would put value on the people.
Yeah.
Even though some jobs are quote unquote small, or I mean, look, I'm not going to say I'm all like soft and I have no hardness. Like, I do think that when you work for a business, everyone is replaceable, right? Like, I
Yeah.
can't operate on the fact that, like, if one of our staff members leaves, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We can't replace you. No, we will be able to always replace somebody. It's a business, not a blood family. You know, I can't replace my sister, but I can replace an employee.
Yeah,
But
well, you might also have to replace your sister. I'm not saying your sister,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that's how confusing business is that business can't
Yeah.
overcome
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah.
It has to be able to transcend it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that is a really, really
It's really
complicated
hard.
thing to understand
Yeah.
with people that you love who make
Yeah.
the assumption that blood is thicker than all other things.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
that
so
is true
true.
personally, but it's
Yeah.
not true professionally.
Yep.
I agree. But I still think that, like, even with that, like, knowing business transcends and, like, to make it successful, like, I have to be able to replace everybody, right? That I still want to give everyone the best shot that we could have, and, like, trust them and give them everything, like, change their lives and
Yeah.
make the best decisions we can for the people. And then I think that's really what it focuses on, is people for me, and doing it. I'm trying to think about, like, on a together, like a
Yeah.
you and me thing. I think it's hard to look back. Thinking about the future is so hard because, like, still feel like we're at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you are. You're
That's
always
true.
you're always at the beginning. You're always at the middle, and you're always at the end.
Yeah, I know. And the beginning and ends are hard. And that what you said earlier really hit home with me, the beginning and the ends, because starting the juice house, like, before launching it, was one of the hardest months ever. And then starting this restaurant, we're in it right now before we launch it in the summer, hopefully, fingers crossed, is the hardest thing ever. And once it's like up and running, you're sort of like, okay, we're in the middle, we're good, like it's running,
Well, I can totally, I can relate to that in what we're trying to do here and everything that we've been doing.
Yeah.
And not a single thing that we've been doing has gone the way that I thought it would.
None of
Not
it,
a single one.
Yeah.
I thought as soon as we
Rarely
opened up
does.
the doors to be able to have community conversations, it was going to be like, well, there's going to be a waiting list. And, and then there ended up being like literally 4 people who showed up, one of which being Oliver, who showed up from from finding one of those envelopes, and we sat down and we had a one-on-one conversation for almost 4 hours, and now he is our
working here.
So, but the thing that I feel like I said to you guys earlier, I don't have a spiritual background, so I don't know how to contextually put this together in a way that makes total sense in my head, or maybe even the way that I can share it. But it feels like something is trying to teach me the importance of patience.
Yeah.
Something is.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have worked any harder.
Yeah.
So now I just have to be patient enough to allow that hard work to come to fruition in some meaningful way. And somebody else had to teach me that, because patience is not a singular experience to be able to learn. It requires a partner in patience, and that's a good thing.
I mean, you say you're not obviously spiritual, but and talking about patience, I don't know why this quote rang. I can't remember where I heard it from, but it's like, when you pray for patience, is God going to give you patience, or is he going to give you the opportunity to be patient?
Yeah.
I think it's the second.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I think it's the
Absolutely.
second. And I think that anytime you take on a family, and you take on building a business, and you take on building your relationship while both of those things are happening, and building your relationship with your family on the outside of that, and then building a relationship with your community, and then building a relationship with the network of people that you want to start spending your time with. All of these things are opportunities to be able to figure out where we can get better.
Yeah.
Where do
100%.
we run into a roadblock that creates the opportunity? And I think that that's, so critical to where we might be able to go.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
know.
mean?
It's
I
true.
absolutely agree.
Yeah, you need to start getting into the spiritual side of yoga. If you love yoga so much, there is so much to learn in the spiritual side of yoga that it became like my church. And this, it's so funny that we're coming right back to yoga at the end of this, because that was the first thing we talked about today. But that's something about yoga, and it could be a different studio or a different mat. Oftentimes it's the same studio for me, but years have gone by. I left town, I moved to different cities, but yoga doesn't ever go anywhere. It's there.
Yes.
It's just solid practice.
Yes.
And there's a lot of spiritual pieces to learn about. I did a yoga teacher training in 2017 where I really dove in to learning about more than just the asana, which is the physical side of it. And I think that if you feel a yearning to understand more about what things out there are trying to teach you, it could be beneficial for you to start learning more.
Oh, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm 100% convinced that I don't ever want to be a teacher, but
I also don't really.
I really, really want to be a great student.
Yeah.
And every single time I go, and Jan's classes are 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
And if anybody does watch this podcast, I can't promote her enough. She's amazing.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I've done difficult athletic things, and I'm fairly athletic naturally. The first 3 times I thought I was going to throw up, and I thought I was going to have to leave class. Every single time I do it, I have some sort of awareness that happens to me while I shut down my mind, especially when I get better at being able to listen to what she's asking me to do, and I allow her to take over my mind for a little bit, and I'm listening to what's happening.
100%.
Sometimes I get a flood of allowing other ideas to come in.
Yeah.
There is my understanding, and very basic understanding, of where spirituality and yoga intertwine really beautifully, is that what yoga is asking you to do is it's asking you to be able to use your body to free your mind
Yes. That's exactly it.
so that you can concentrate on your breath, to understand that if you could understand your breath, you could understand everything.
That is a really beautiful way to simplify it.
And I believe that you could get to that level of understanding by doing anything. If you wanted to be, if you
Yeah.
wanted to play basketball at that level, you could figure out how basketball could become that. I've heard people talk about that with jiu-jitsu. I've heard it mentioned in a lot of different ways, but yoga has this very, very
Yeah.
beautiful way of being able to
Connect it all.
and not hide it in dribbling,
Right.
not hide it in a jump shot, not hide it in something else. It puts it right out there for you to be able to consume and figure out whether you're willing to be able to find that mind-body connection.
Yeah.
And in the end, simplify your understanding of self through, I need to take something in and I need to let something out. I need to take something in and I need to let something out. And the more I can do that with consciousness, the more likely it is that what I bring in becomes a better reflection of what I put out.
Yeah.
And that is a very simple idea that is unbelievably complex
Yeah.
Sure.
to engage with on a regular basis.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so
The end of every episode, I always try to end with a moment of gratitude for you.
and for you.
And for you.
Thank you for being here. I really genuinely appreciate it. Not only do I appreciate it from the standpoint of, I was really honest with the two of you where we are in the development of what we're doing, and the two of you were instantaneously gracious about being the first people outside of our intimate team to come in and do this. But I'm also just really grateful that I got to know two human beings who I genuinely am excited that I get to go to your businesses every day.
Thank
But I'm
you.
also genuinely excited that I live down the street from you now. And
Yeah.
I hope that we can, that this
Absolutely.
goes from being something where we can show people that every interaction that you have is an opportunity to share that moment. But it's also an opportunity to meet people who you're like, hey,
Absolutely.
this
So
is
cool.
this is
So
a really
fun.
great way
It's
to
really
be
great.
able to figure out how connection turns into something that that can genuinely mean something for the
Yeah.
longer run. And I appreciate both of you. I appreciate what you've done for our community.
Thank you.
And I'm here to support you in any way
Thank
that I
you.
possibly can.
Thank
And
you. Thanks for what you're doing for the community too. I mean, this is I think that this is amazing, and I think it will catch on, and people will be excited, and it's going to be.
This,
gonna be
this, this is what the world needs more of,
Yeah.
is more communication, more honesty, and just being curious. Being
Yeah,
curious
it's
about
great.
somebody else's experience instead of
In a goal
letting-
to understand and connect.
yeah,
with
instead of
people.
letting
not to judge.
that define them. What
Yeah.
well, I so appreciate it. I know that the world is very noisy right now,
Yeah, it is.
but I am so optimistic about the world that we're about to step into.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that we don't even understand. One thing that seems to be pretty obvious that we're getting a grasp on right now in this time in history is that our minds might be capable of creating whatever we think about.
Manifestation.
So manifestation has been something that I was aware of for my entire life, but it wasn't something that I had ever heard anyone or had an experience of anybody being able to turn from something that felt sort of
Yeah.
spiritually unavailable to me, and instead turning it into something that was sort of this mix of science and spirituality that we could all engage in, and that there was an equality of opportunity of seeing it. But I see no evidence that says that your mind doesn't create whatever it is that you're thinking about. And I really want to encourage everybody to be very, very specific about what we start thinking about. Because if we keep thinking that the world is going in a direction that's terrible for us and terrible for our children,
That's what will
I'm not
happen.
sure that our minds won't follow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to that scale, and then to the very small scale of your inner monologue, what do you tell yourself
That's
is
it.
incredibly powerful.
That's it.
If you're in the back of my mind, I can't
That's
do
it.
something, or I'm not good at this.
You won't. do it.
Bullshit.
That's it.
Yeah.
Theo,
Bullshit.
you got it. You got it.
And I lived in that in my childhood, and I
Everybody
hated it.
has.
And everybody
Yeah.
has. It's just it's how can you?
Yeah.
You know how
Get
we
out.
do it? We just acknowledge to each other that we've all
Yeah,
done
we
it.
all get it,
And that
yeah.
if we want to leave, if we want to find ourselves, we just have to ask why.
Yeah.
And the more we ask that, the more likely it is that we will realize that we never needed somebody else to give us that answer because no one other than you can answer it.
Yeah.
And I think that the more people start to fall in love with themselves, the more likely it is that we're all going to realize that there is zero value in creating drama with other people.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah. Zero.
Zero.
Love
and
it.
And the most zero is violence.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're right on the cusp of something really amazing, and I
love it.
couldn't be more excited to have two beautiful people sitting across from me that I got to start this journey with, and that we got to start this conversation with. And
We certainly feel very grateful to be in a
Yeah,
position to be in
honored.
these chairs.
Yeah. Thank you for
Great.
all your kind
Well,
words too.
let's do it again.
Let's do
Yeah,
it
we
again.
will. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap, guys.
That's a wrap.
Yay, we did it.